Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, hello.
This is a podcast.
Well, an
Currently
attempted one.
untitled. Yes, currently untitled, unfortunately, or fortunately. We haven't figured out a name just yet or a theme, but it is a podcast nevertheless. It's going to be centered around Akuma as a character for now, but we're definitely going to branch out into stuff like discussing TVT, tournaments, just individual players and their opinions on tier lists, and other characters as well.
Yes. Do you want to introduce yourself? I mean, this is my channel, so maybe you could start with that.
Hey, that's a good point. My name's my name does not matter really, but my nickname is Token, and I am an Akuma player all the way from Russia. I have competed in in a couple TWT events last year. That's basically who I am, and I also post a lot in Tekken Zaibatsu Discord.
Yeah,
Great
it's
place.
like the second half of the EU Akuma Brain Trust. Or maybe it's like the third? The last
The
third?
third half,
Yeah, the third half. We have like the Brain Trust, and then we have the islands of Super Akuma and people like that. Who like eat up the tech and then don't remember where they get it. Always nice.
Yes, my claim to fame is that I was the one who found out Key Charge Demon was unjumpable. Thanks a lot, everyone.
I think everyone's claim to fame is that, except for Rixta, and he's the one who gets the credit. So it's like so complicated.
Doesn't really matter at this point, does it?
No.
Anyway, podcast Untitled, episode 1 or 0, depends on how you look at it. We're going to discuss matchups in regards to Akuma.
Yes.
And this is actually an interesting topic that most players could tune into, because even if you're not maining Akuma, and clearly you're not, everyone listening, at least like save for a couple people, you could still chime in and discuss your main strengths versus this character.
Yeah.
And this will not only be interesting to you if you are playing versus Akuma a lot, but could also apply to your general mindset, how to look into matchups, and perhaps a bit more importantly, how to look into matchups versus 2D characters, because no matter how you look at it, there are certain similarities between these characters.
Yeah, for sure. We've been talking about doing something similar like this for quite a while, but I think it's pretty funny that the day we end up doing it is also the day that Arslan and the Pakistani community as a whole comes out with the fact that they think both Geese and Akuma is top 5 in the game. That's a pretty crazy statement, I think, especially for Akuma's part.
That's definitely exciting. Yes, saying that Geese is top 10 is not surprising to anyone in 2018, let alone 2019, but putting him all the way into top 5 is perhaps a bit of a reach in certain players' opinions. However, putting Akuma anywhere near close top 15 is definitely something unheard of unless you're Frame Whisperer on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, one of my pet peeves about people who think Akuma is too strong generally tends to be his matchup spread as well. I think he has a pretty, as far as Tekken characters go, really like wavy matchup spread. It goes up and down for sure, which tends to be something that's kind of, it doesn't like matter too much in Tekken really. Like a good character tends to be good because all the characters tend to do very similar things, but Akuma doesn't really fit into that.
He does not fit into that at all, and his matchups, interestingly enough, actually are more like his Street Fighter roots than his Tekken roots. It's quite interesting, peculiar actually.
Yeah, so we have this setup here. Bagoosh stream, quality stream here. We got double screens.
Isn't that wonderful?
So this is like a quick mock-up here. We don't have any 9-1 or 10-0 matchups here, I think we can like exclude those. I think we probably won't even reach 8-2 or 2-8. I think that's probably reach as well. So we go from 8-2 down to 2-8.
Yeah, that is absolutely a good idea. I don't think we will even find a single 2-8,
No,
but
I don't think either. But
I mean, everyone who's watching in chat, you are. I mean, feel free to tune in. Perhaps you have your own thoughts that differ from ours on the matchups. Doesn't really matter which side are you looking at it from. Just make sure to give us a heads up. Yep, Cosby in chat says 7-3 is pretty extreme. He thinks that's also very true. So, would you like to do some bookkeeping before we start, Rubbish, or should we just jump right into it?
I think we can just jump right into it. I'm not sure where to start though. I think we should just like pick a character at random. We could ask.
Is there any order on like two characters on screen? Horang, Nina, Ling. Very weird how they're placed.
I'm not sure. This is just like some random mock-up I found for a tier list. So
all right. Well, I suggest we start from the most interesting and exciting one, Akuma Mirror.
Oh damn, 5-5. But who's the best 5? I think maybe we don't even list Akuma. He can sit out here.
Kind of dumb, but whatever. Let's just leave them out of this. We could definitely start just like how the system suggests. We start with Horang, and then go like from left to right, and then if we would like, then to switch to some of like worst to best or something.
Yeah, but we'll start with Horang. I think as a rule, we'll just put him in 5-5 to begin with, and we can start thinking about reasons as to why it wouldn't be a 5-5, right?
Okay, yes,
seems
this
pretty
is
reasonable.
a good idea. And Grabby Game asks rather, will you guys talk about all of them? We'll probably do, but we will have to be very, very brief. So I'm not sure if we will allow ourselves to spend more than 5 minutes on a single character unless it's like a very, very popular matchup.
Yeah, especially like a lot of matchups are gonna end up being 5-5, I think. So it's not too interesting to talk about those maybe, but we'll see.
Is there enough place on the 5-5 line?
Yeah, I think it'll get smaller. I think it's like a smart system.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know. I don't fucking clue. Let's hope it is.
Okay. First of all, Horang, he cannot block in any of his stances. So SRK, rather EXDP, is always a great counter. That's something that only Akuma and Elisa can do, so obviously this has to sway the matchup somewhat. On the other side of the spectrum, obviously, Horang can simply force out meter usage from Akuma by going into a stance and forcing him into wasting meter to dealing some damage for cleaving through his stance.
Though I think it's worth noting that SRK2 like is pretty damn good versus a lot of Flamingo transitions as well, especially on block. Like you never really have to respect Horang on block, unless like very specific situations, of course. But it's generally about getting hit where you have to spend bar. So
not to mention demon flip transitions, certain ones at least. If you just do while standing 2 demon flip under down 3-4, for example, you block first one, duck second one, then while standing 2 demon flip. Even if Horang has enough time to transition into a stance, the demon flip itself will still crush him anyway. So that way Akuma can simply bypass some of the limitations and punishment of Horang that certain other characters have. With that being said, there isn't much Akuma can use his focus attack for in this matchup, and Horang's pressure, in my opinion, just in general, kind of better than Akuma's, at least in the open.
Yeah. Stream image is frozen. That's not good. Why is it frozen? Oh, mine is.
Oh, yeah, that is true, and that's not...
Well, we'll see if we can restart this. No, it isn't. But hey,
yes,
it is streaming, right? So maybe I can restart this. Deactivate. Activate. Did that do anything? Hey, it did. Welcome back. Me.
Perfect. Wonderful.
So yeah, I do think I'd agree with you that this, it doesn't really matter too much in terms of swinging the matchup. I think actually what ends up making it a 5-5 for me is the fact that you can actually do stuff as Akuma that matter.
Like what, for example?
Well,
What are you,
I
what do you
mean
have
the
in mind?
Dragon Punch versus Flamingo. You can teleport out, like teleport backwards a lot,
Oh yeah,
to force
that's very, very
out
important. That's true.
specific stuff, like kind of make Harang chase you, which means he has to like not do anything. He has to hard read and chase you more or less because Flamingo is a bit like AOP. You're kind of stuck in it, not like
Hmm.
really, but so
That's true.
yeah,
There is really no way to avoid SRK2. Most of the Flamingo evasive attacks don't really do enough for Horang to evade these kinds of panic moves. I would also like to mention that both Flamingo armor moves, that is the mid ones, are what, minus 11 or 12, but they leave Horang point blank, meaning Akuma gets an easy launch with jab or down two, whichever. And this is also important in ways like right flamingo back four, I mean back three, the launch mid, which is minus 10, and Akuma gets an easy launch versus that
yeah.
move as well. So whenever it comes to other characters and other matchups, Horang doesn't actually risk that much. He's going to get a jab punish uh, versus either of these attacks, be it armor or the mid launch. Versus Akuma, however, has to risk a launch. He has to risk to get launched on his own if he wants to use the safe-ish moves. This is quite important in my opinion as well.
Grubby asks, is counter hit down 1-2 useful against Harang? And I think that's an absolute yes, but then again, it's very
Definitely.
useful against like every character in the game. So, but yeah, it's definitely good. I mean, a lot of people kind of crutch Dig Jab versus Harang in a lot of situations, especially high pressure situations where they just kind of want to get out. So it's very good to be able to basically kill a character with your like crutch mashy option.
That is true. And as far as punishment to down 1-2, people normally don't even punish that
Yeah.
string anyway. Still, I mean, how long has it been? 3 years? But even then, what does Horang even get? It's minus 13 and Akuma recovers and crouch. DF1?
Yeah,
That's it, right?
I think so.
Quite terrible. Or, I mean, just down 3-4, I guess.
I think in general his punishment for the, because I mean every character basically can punish Akuma pretty hard for his really punishable stuff, so that doesn't really change much in most matchups. But his punishment for like minus 11, for example, isn't that good. Like it's okay, but it's not like for example, I use down for 2-4 a lot versus basically the entire cast, and if they have to, if they like feel like pressing there, you gain a lot, like especially in tournament sets because it's such a strong option to have to get the knockdown on the last hit. And if you're just getting punished, like you're not even getting knocked down, like versus like Mishimas or something, that can, like in a high pressure situation, getting knocked down can just lead to you dying, right? But
That is true.
not so much maybe.
If we had a 5-5 to 4-5 row there, I would probably put Horang in there. So basically, minor advantage Akuma, but there is an argument to be made for 6-4. However, if Horang is to play quite patiently and respect Akuma's neutral, or rather, no, play a neutral game and force the meter usage by baiting all these EXDPs to just disallow Akuma to use any meter, then Horang could get somewhere. Otherwise, however, it's a 6-4 in my opinion. So yeah, putting it in 5-5 for now is fine.
Yeah.
We could move it around.
Want to hear a stat about EXTP in tournament?
Let's see.
I think usage of EXTP has a 98% loss rate for round. If it happens, hit or miss, it's a 98% loss for Akuma.
Hit or miss. I guess you never miss, huh?
All right, I guess they never hit in this situation.
Absolutely not. That's an interesting, peculiar statistic, really. Right.
How about we move to something completely different? Let's go to like a very basic character. Let's do Shaheen.
Sounds good. Shaheen. I don't really have much of an opinion on this matchup, honestly.
It's kind of bland.
Bland is a good description of it, definitely.
I think I don't think there's like a major advantage any direction. Like you can use your like the general Akuma stuff works, but you don't really get to do anything that other characters get to do versus Shaheen. It's not like you have a bunch of cool interrupts.
Other than the option select punish versus down back to 1, right?
But that is not an option select punish, so it doesn't work.
Wait, really? It's not? Down back 2 isn't -10?
It is, but the pushback is too far. So, and also I can't remember. I don't think it actually. I don't think down 1 crushes fast enough if he does no delay down back to 1. So
okay,
it's
never
like
mind then.
Double up, no bueno.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is like textbook 5-5. It probably got a little bit better in season 2 just because they gave Shaheen a move that you can use focus attack versus, and people really like doing running 2 with any character that has a running 2. Doesn't matter if it's good.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't actually seen any Shaheen players use this move just yet.
I play a Shaheen from time to time, and it's not super often, but I think it's like a compulsion with people. Like if they can do while running 2, they will do while running 2, unless you're like low high, maybe.
His forward 2-3 punish has gotten worse in season 2 because you can now simple back roll out of it, and that's, I guess, quite good for Akuma since he can just chuck down 3 fireballs and into like his direction with much with less with less danger, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. But that's also very minor, I think, in the grand scheme of things. I think this is pretty 5-5 in my opinion.
Shaheen's lows and neutral, not in neutral, but Shaheen's just spoke lows are definitely better than Akuma's, though. There could be like something said about this as well. But yeah, 5-5 seems fine.
Akuma does always hit down 4 on block with while standing 4-4, which is nice to know. I don't think it can whiff, which is a problem for other characters.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a quick one. We got that one out of the way. I'm just gonna like pick a character at random here. Let's do Lars.
Ooh, Lars is one of these characters that I feel like there could definitely finally be made an argument for him being at a disadvantage when playing versus Akuma 6-4.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think we can tentatively put him here. I don't think he really has any very abusable stuff versus Akuma.
Wait, isn't it supposed to go the other way around?
Oh, yeah, it is.
On top.
There we go. Brain. Like, some of his best tools as well, like 4-4-1+2, it is nerfed in this game, but it's still, like, super good, right? It's a great move. He just gets shit on by focus.
Yeah, definitely.
Like hardcore. Decisive 2 does as well, though you're not really going to be focus attacking that much up close, but it is worth noting. You get to punish basically all the stuff, like no problem.
And most of his transitions, I mean, normally most of the cast punishes his transitions just fine, but Akuma does it also quite well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to be said about this matchup?
No, I don't think so.
And obviously, the biggest problem of all Lars players, his lows are launch punishable, obviously. Still launch punishable by Akuma, even more so in certain situations. But yeah, That's quite good for us.
Yeah. I don't think it's like horrible for Lars or anything, but I mean, is you still have to win with Lars, so there is that.
Yeah, that's true. It is a bit of an uphill battle, however.
How do you feel about Noctis?
I don't like Noctis as a character, so I don't really know what to put him. Obviously, Focus Attack does well.
It actually does better in Season 2, right? Since Downback 2 doesn't counter hit launch anymore, right? Because it's always knockdown. I think they nerfed it so it doesn't launch on counter hit, so you can focus even more. I
That's
think.
interesting. Yeah.
I might be wrong on this. If anyone in the chat knows, they can feel free to pipe up about that. But I think it doesn't counter hit launch, at least not as consistently as it did.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I think you can always Y22 it as well on block, which some characters have a little bit of problems punishing it on max range.
Yeah, that's 100% consistent, for sure. And I did research something just out of spite because I got ragged by a certain Noctis player at some point in rank. I didn't get ragged by when playing Akuma, but I still researched it from Akuma's perspective. Whenever you do block while running 1+2 from Noctis, the dreaded low mid mix up, the low or the aura, Akuma gets to sidestep left duck, and he beats either option, even with his subpar sidestep, let's say, Akuma can still do this, and that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, it is kind of small, so maybe it has to do with that. I don't know, I have no idea. I think this could be a 6-4 as well. I'm struggling to think, I guess forward 2 is technically really good versus any and all fireball, but you don't really have to throw fireballs, especially not full screen.
You absolutely don't have to. Even for zoning, you can simply zone with your 3D tools. With that being said, it's not easy to punish a 4-2 with Focus Attack, but you can still learn how to do this. And on block, even though it's -9, there's still some pushback, so we won't be able to get a clean hit of down 3, since Noctis will simply just backdash, as far as I know, anyway.
I think that's correct. But yeah. I think the fireballs are generally, raw fireballs I think are strongest at pretty close range, 2 characters max. And you can't forward 2 on reaction there. You can't do anything on reaction, really. Kind of just have to be sidewalking or blocking or whatever. So I don't think it matters too much. I think it felt like it would matter a lot when the character came out, because it feels really bad when something is just deleting something. But when you delete something that doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. So, are you okay with him being in 6-4?
Yes, I'm definitely okay with that. His rage is also quite inconsequential in a matchup, in my opinion. It's just stronger for 2. Who cares? He doesn't get anything big at the wall, and his wall carry is, in certain cases, actually better than Akuma's, at least in off certain launchers, as far as I know, but it's hard to do. However, when he does arrive to the wall, his damage there isn't that big, and his mix-up potential is nothing, really.
Yeah. I think this matchup is probably 5-5 online, just because Akuma is very execution heavy and Noctis is the opposite, but that doesn't really matter.
There's also I would also like to mention that Noctis punishes down for every time with launch on block. Not like you use this move often, but you could, if you don't like getting punished for 2-1 at wall, you could sometimes use this big kick, big boot, and Noctis launches that every time. But that's, again, minor. Doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
He doesn't get knocked down on... Well, does he get... No, he doesn't get knocked down on 14, right?
I think he does, but his attack roll will knock down. Again, I'm not sure about this, and nobody uses this punish. That's how I remember it. Perhaps it's not even the case.
I feel like people used to do back 1-2 all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Why did I get DQ'd at Head Stomper? Yeah, sorry to change the subject real quick, but I got asked this on in chat. I had visa issues, major ones. It wasn't ready then, and it's still not ready now. It's not like I need it anyway, but yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but I will go to another tournament to compensate.
I hope you made it out okay financially. Didn't look about
It's
stuff.
not me, unfortunately, who got like damaged by this. It's mainly Ace, the salty EU manager, who had to take the loss financially. But I'm making it. I'm doing my best to compensate him and go to another tournament to represent his brand.
Okay.
Basically, yes, that is Toko. There is this thing under my webcam that actually does show my nickname on Twitch. Good evening.
Does. It shows like a bunch of stuff, especially for you, Mr. Man of Many Names.
That's true. Thanks a lot. Would
Yeah.
you like to try and go to a matchup that will probably be bad for Akuma for a change?
Sure. I can think of like many, but let's do like this one. I think this one is pretty easy to call bad, in my opinion.
Ooh,
Heihachi.
yikes. Mm-hmm.
I think
Right,
there
so-
are some standout stuff that is good for Akuma in this matchup, but there's like 3 or 4 things that are just like horrible.
Number one, you cannot punish that big thing. Forward 2. What's it called in the move list? Omen Fist?
I'm not sure. We just call it big. We call it big electric in north of Sweden.
Alright. That's fair.
Yeah, you can't do. You can do very little about it really. You can sort of, I guess you can dash up and try to get a mix up, but even then you can get counter hit. So I think 442 is like big. Like the fact that because Akuma can't really move either. He can't step it realistically, so you end up with focus attack, and by focusing a lot, Hell Sweep becomes super good. So
Absolutely. Hell Sweep is definitely a very, very important tool in this matchup if Akuma insists on using focus. However, you can still launch it with a down jab.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
But that's big. I mean, electric, as always, is really good. It doesn't like Akuma has. I mean, he can walk electric, but it's harder than for other characters. So electric becomes even better. Electric is good at floating. Electric is good at pressuring. It's good at whiff punishing. He has a great punishment, obviously, especially standing. I guess for lows, it doesn't really matter versus Akuma to not have a great, like, super minus 13, 14 while standing punishment. So, in a lot of ways, his sort of below average while standing punishment doesn't matter versus Akuma either. Especially now that Tsunami Kicks is 0 on hit.
It kind of does. You still have to make a quite big executional thing as a Heihachi player if you want to launch down 4. You have to like react to it. You have to immediately crouch cancel electric. It's not easy to do in the clutch. In the clutch rather. Most characters in tournaments simply just launch it every time, but for Heihachi, he has to be on point to launch a straight down 4 immediately. Other than that, though, yes, indeed, his while staying punishment doesn't matter much.
You can do crouch cancel 442 though by just doing 4/4 out of crouch.
Indeed, but that's also
it is hard, but it is. I think it's more manageable than crouch cancel electric as a reaction thing.
5-5 is not a bad matchup, crazy. What we're doing currently is we place the character we were discussing on the rightmost of the 5-5 scale and then move them around.
Yeah, and I think we should probably put Hurang here, right? Because Hurang is I think like going downwards might be good, as going to the right might be good to signify that it's like further down. So Hurang was closer to a 4-6. No, yeah. No, wait.
I was
Never
thinking
mind. The other way around. It is the other way around. I keep mixing this up.
Mm-hmm.
It is right now. But yeah, I think we can put him here.
Yeah, the Horang thing is fine. And as Hihachi, the issue that Akuma has with Hihachi that he doesn't have with many other characters is obviously down jabs are great with versus pressure, but in Hihachi's case, he sometimes gets +4, +5, +9 with his running move. You literally cannot do a down jab. You will not be able to interrupt a DF1 immediate one at least. And if you do try to step it, you won't get it. You won't get the sidestep every single time because of how subpar Akuma's movement is, lateral movement that is.
Yeah.
You won't be able to sidestep a DF1 out of like heavier minus frames. So that is definitely a problem, and that is definitely one of the issues Akuma experiences in the matchup.
I think also, it's worth to note as well when you talk about dick jabs, in that Heihachi's hunting hawk, or whatever, upward 4-3, right, is like he uses that in pressure. It's a pretty good call out move. If you don't think people will do anything, or if you think they're gonna do a low or dick jab, you can just do it. And it's like plus more in season 2, right?
+3, right? 4 or 3, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it used to be like 2 and it's like 4 now.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And using a low crush move as your go-to thing will always be damaging in the matchup, because obviously Akuma's down 3 and down 4 are like the best tools. Oh, and this is kind of minor, but the worse a character's while-standing punishment is, the more likely they are to look for low parries as opposed to blocks on lows. I know this sounds kind of shallow to think that way, but yeah, you expect Heihachi's and Steve's to low parry more, and obviously low parry is like the single best tool you can do versus Akuma. Whenever you do play the Akuma matchup right, you will always basically be mashing on the DF1 unless you're given a very, very strong reason not to.
Yeah.
So Heihachi's will just do this by by default. That's the one.
Yeah. I think it's pretty like easy to put him here. I don't think that's like a crazy. We didn't really like actually have to justify this, because just put him there and move on.
Sounds good.
Maybe we can do Kasumi. I think she's a pretty similar matchup in a lot of ways, actually, but better, in my opinion.
I don't know if I would ever move away from 5-5. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's pretty 5-5 as well. I mean, the reason it isn't, because it could be worse versus her than 5-5, if you couldn't like shut down Kasumi players who want to engage in like a bulldog pressure type play so hard, because you get to punish down back 4 and down forward 1-2 so well, and you get to counter hit attempts at hitting jabs out of minus frames so hard as well. Like you get to do so much damage. So she kind of has to play very slow, very methodical, and like she kind of turns into Shaheen in the matchup instead of having this other side. And yeah, as Cosby says in the chat, focus obviously really good versus while running too.
Her movement is obviously one of the best in the game, lateral movement that is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does matter versus Akuma, of course. And if you just sidestep low parry a lot, you will definitely get places. But Akuma still has access to like +4, and he can get a full combo out of it with meter. So that's kind of important. And his tracking on some of his mid strings, DF2-4, DF, these kinds of strings could catch a sidestep, so it doesn't end up mattering that much.
Yeah, stuff like 1-1 can also track sidestep on the second hit. So if you're really sure about it, you can buffer a fireball and stuff like that.
And Akuma's letter movement actually
Damn, you're
moving.
clipping a lot right now. I'm not sure why.
You mean my camera or my voice?
No, your voice. Might be Discord.
All right, I'll try and turn my stream off. Tell me if it's better.
Yeah, you try it for a little bit and we'll see if it works out.
Just wanted to say that Akuma's movement does allow him to move around 1-1 and DF1. He cannot step down back 4 too well in neutral unless he just commits to sidewalk right, but it still is enough for him to successfully kind of play to other characters' strengths whenever they attempt to fight Kazumi. And that, coupled with the fact that his punishment on DF1-2 is so great, and down back 4 really requires Kazumi to use lows with less reward, as well as other mids, if she wants a knockdown.
Yeah. I don't think there's really any stuff you can't punish that well either. I mean, Kazumi players don't really use that much punishable stuff to begin with, but it's not like you have a bunch of -12 stuff that you can't reach or that you have to like do one into Tatsu instead of be able to launch. It's like it's not really a matchup with a lot of that stuff either. So I think it's like pretty consistent.
Yeah, it is definitely 5-5 on paper, although I do have to say that Kazumi players just have to work more in the matchup than Akuma players do. I feel like. Just there are more things for them to look out for and be careful about.
One thing to note, I think, is that Kazumi can always mash down for the 1 versus any demon flip transition. Any range.
We haven't actually mentioned before, like just yet, have we? Yeah, this is probably the first character that is on our list who is actually really good versus demon flip. Yeah. So this is a good thing to mention.
Yeah, no timing required. Just press the button. Yeah, but I think we can leave her there.
Sounds good.
I think she's probably right there actually. Let's do Ling. Here's a matchup I played a ton. I think this is definitely not a 5-5. It's probably at the low end of 6 or 4-6. Might not be a 3-7, but it's definitely not a 5-5.
Obviously not a 5-5. Obviously not a downhill battle. Akuma struggles versus Ling really hard. It is a bit better in Season 2.
Yeah.
If we were to say that it was 3-7 in Season 1, perhaps it could be called 6-4. I mean 4-6 now.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's probably fair. Back 2 really did a lot, and the pushback reduction on Rain Dance 4, stuff like that, really helped as well. But if we just like gonna give a few reasons as to why it's bad, AOP basically shits on his entire moveset, or SSR AOP.
Yes, SSR AOP specifically does quick work of almost the entirety of what Akuma could ever do.
She has a lot of punish mix-ups that you can't realistically OS out of. So Akuma has to deal with them as well, which really hurts for a character that gains so much from punishing. She punishes him really well. And with a press of a button with standing 3, like one of the best I-14 launchers in the game. AOP does go under Fireball, and like on a theoretical level, I think this matchup is probably a 3-7, but that's not things people are going to do. She can do some really fucked up shit. Like, she doesn't really have to block fireballs ever. She can AOP under them in block strings and stuff like that, but that doesn't really matter. Like, she doesn't really have to...
that is true. That's quite big.
Yeah.
The AOP after standing 2 basically turns off your ability to safe-ishly confirm into FADC stuff.
Yeah. I think it's any cancel except for down 3.
Except for down 3.
Yeah, clean hit, down 3 on block, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Though I don't think we'll ever see anyone do this in a tournament. But if this list was like theoretically highest level ever, bots versus bots, then it's probably worse. But that's not really the list, is it? So
yeah, indeed, and there isn't a extremely high level Akuma could do to cancel out some of the bullshit, excuse my language, that Link gets to do.
yeah.
So,
I think like a bot Akuma is probably the best character in the game. So I mean, let's not go there because I don't want to say Akuma is the best character in the game.
yeah, his top 5. Let's just
Yeah.
not the best just yet.
Yeah, I don't think we have to go into that too much. Like, there is some stuff that's good. Some AOP punishes and stuff like that. You can just do Dragon Punch, which is nice. But, yeah. Nothing that really makes up for the fact that she doesn't really have to commit to a lot of stuff, and you have to press really slow things to deal with AOP, and she has a trillion launchers. My mic just fucked off.
Yeah, your microphone is definitely not 6'4". I mean, 4'6". Again, there is an argument to be made for this to be 3-7, but for now we don't feel like it's that bad, but it's definitely top 3 worst matchups for even Season 2.
Yeah. Want to go to another bad matchup?
Let's go. Which one will it be?
Jack.
Yay! Yes.
I know
Definitely for
you
6.
love this matchup, so why don't you?
Well, I mean, you're supposed to love this matchup too, since Finland is basically in the middle of the distance between Sweden and Russia, kind of. So we have to play versus Jacks a lot, but you don't really go online too often on PC, so you don't see these.
No, I don't like to
these
torture
players.
myself as much as you do. So
Hey, wow. Anyway, Jack is a struggle for many reasons. Standing 2 is amazing as an anti-air, and considering Jack players just love doing it in neutral a lot, this kills some of your unreactable jumps just by the virtue of Jack players wanting to use this tool as an anti-sidestep tool and a zoning tool. It just works as an anti-air tool so extremely well that you don't get to jump pretty much at all in the matchup unless you really are good at mixing up things like short demon flip 1, long demon flip 3, the things that Super Akuma did at the mix-up, basically. But even then, still, standing 2 is extremely good in that. You don't get to punish his lows too well because your down jabs will whiff at a certain range, so you're stuck with using while standing 4-4. You don't get a full launch versus his uppercut without meter unless you block it point blank, which almost never happens. His 2-1 string is also kind of good. Its tracking is nice, and it's even better versus Akuma. And the punish on the full string, all Akuma can do is a simple long tatsu. There are things I'm forgetting, but the main part of it is that Jack can simply run away very, very easily, and he will probably never end up in the clean hit range of down 3. This is due to his amazing backdash, due to the fact that Jack players simply love to turtle and are very good at it naturally, and number 3, it's the Jack's posture. It's not exactly similar to Bears with how far off their legs are, but it's still not easy to get a down 3 counter hit. I mean down 3 clean hit, even if you just dash in up close. So you can only realistically do this if you block something that's like -7 or 8 and do it, or at the wall. Otherwise, cannot expect to land this. This coupled with the fact that it's a one-frame link. The back one demon flip was the one-frame link on Jack. You will probably not get any of the back one combos on a good Jack player at all, and that kind of guts some of the damage you could be dealing to.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting as well that Jack and Gigas have that weird Biggs hurt box where off axis. It's weird. It's Jack, Gigas, and Leo for some reason. where off axis down 3, even point blank, will not clean it a lot of the time, which is really shitty. So even at the wall, in certain tech situations, if they tech off axis to it's your left, down 3 will not clean it, even though you're inside them.
Yeah, that requires you to dash in, which allows them and gives them enough time to either rage art or like while standing for stuff.
Yeah, or low parry
Grab a
both
game-
directions,
Yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
true. Grab a game is correct. Demon Flip Throw can be done quite early versus big characters like Gigas Bears and Jack and the like. Marduk probably too, I don't remember. But that's not enough of an advantage, obviously, to warrant this not being worse than 4-6.
Yeah, I think he's not as bad as Ling, but he's worse than Heihachi.
Mm-hmm. Definitely worse and definitely a struggle to play against. There still are things you can do, obviously. It's a 6-4, not in a... It's a 4-6, not an 0-10 matchup. But Jack's default playstyle works versus Akuma really well.
Yeah.
Because of all these reasons mentioned above.
I don't know. What's another character?
Shall we try Elisa for a change?
Elisa, where are you? Here we go.
The other Russian character. And then we can simply go to Dragon. The trifecta.
Yeah, I don't really have like too much of an opinion on this matchup, actually. I feel like it's another one of those that's kind of bland. You do get the 5-frame back one demon flip. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's true.
I don't know.
Her amazing backdash, her amazing movement in general, her safe-ish pokes really allow her to play a very compact game, and down 3 from afar is obviously good. Akuma gets to SRK to it on block, but other than that, I don't really... What can he do? You get to launch hop kick very easily from crouch. It's not like it's that big of a deal, and Elisa players don't use it often,
Yeah.
but still. Armor move, you also get to launch every time despite the pushback, just because of how big the window is. That's at least in my testing. The mid armor, that is.
Yeah.
The one that Grubby Game just mentioned in the chat. I really hate her chainsaw stance. It's been 5 years and I still haven't figured out what to do against it. I simply hold back and die.
It's really good in this game. It's like plus on the low, which is crazy. Didn't used to be that. I think it used to be -2 or something. And her moves are really slow, but now it's like +4 on hit.
Yeah, and some of the moves just went from being -20 to safe, or what was that?
Yeah, the sidestep. The sidestep move
Mm-hmm.
was like -20 something, 25 or something in Tank 2.
Right. With how you can simply pick a stage as a losing player in tournaments, Elisa players often go to either Infinite or the Forgotten Realm stage, the one with floors, right?
Yeah, it's Forgotten Realm.
Mm-hmm. Because of how her armor moves launch there, so you have to be ready for that. But on the other side of the spectrum, you get to launch it on block, obviously. Her anti-airs also are good.
Yeah.
Standing 4 is an extremely valuable tool. It shuts down most of the Demon Flip cancels, unless you do it in like specific ranges situations or just are heavily plus on hit. Her jabs and neutral are also quite nice. Obviously, you do kind of cancel out some of her transitions. Down 3 isn't as scary to you as it is versus other characters.
Yeah.
That being said, I would probably put it at 4-5, 5-5. But not enough things Elisa gets to do for this to be a 4-6.
Yeah. I think some of her stuff as well that she got buffed with that really matter in other matchups don't really matter as much versus Akuma. Like, she got better punish, but having better I-12 to I-14, like having a good I-10 punish and having a good launcher like I-15 is really what matters the most, I think, versus Akuma. So
There are obviously situations
yeah,
where
yeah,
an I-14 launch matters too, but hers isn't exactly simply like what 60 damage, 50 damage with
yeah.
no wall
I mean,
carry.
it's good, but
Yeah,
I
it's
tend to
true.
think that Korsak back 4 getting blocked is something that shouldn't really be happening that much either way.
Yeah, especially you can easily live without it. Oki tool or just neutral, especially whenever you're fighting a character whose I-14
Yeah.
punish is very good.
Yeah, but I think I'd agree with you that she's like maybe on the verge, but not like if we had a separate,
Mhm.
she would probably go in there. But well, let's do drag then. Let's do.
In my opinion, the matchup has improved from season 1 to season 2, but that's only because I'm not good enough to punish uh, low attacks with down to fireball back 1 thing, and Dragunov is a 1-frame character again. You being able to launch his down 2 on blocks so easily with meter now and good damage too is quite something that actually made me feel much better about the matchup. I used to think this was one of the 3 worst matchups in the game, and I used to think this for a very long time because of how good his anti-air tools are, how good Back 3 is in general, and kind of nice-ish his down 2 felt like versus me specifically as a player. But now that I get to launch it so easily, and his down 2 is -1 on hit now, it's not an issue at all. It's still a 5/5, honestly. His back 4 strings are good, his jabs are quite nice. But you do have to understand, as a Dragunov player, that he basically cannot use while running 2 at random how you normally do it versus
Yeah.
other characters. And since there isn't really that big of a issue with Akuma simply just holding focus attack like a dummy in the neutral, what are you gonna do? Slide him? Yeah, slide counter hit kind of deals some damage, but that's not a launch.
Yeah, and it's really risky. So
Yeah, it's not now that it's fine -15, it's quite risky. That's true.
I think I'd agree with you. I think like disregarding the fact that you couldn't do down 2 versus down 2, while standing 3 into SRK 2 is really nice as a meterless punish as well. Like I think that matters. Like just like a
There are actually matchups where it does end up mattering because while standing 3 has more range than down 2, and there are certain -13 lows which you used to have to expect the low pushback range, like hope for it, and then launch it with down 2. Now you can simply, while standing 3 with no remorse, like Nina's can opener, is that what it's called?
Yeah, for 4-3.
No.
Or what are you talking about?
Down back 3.
Oh, you're talking down back 3. Oh, well,
Mhm.
it's down back 3. Let's just call it down back 3.
Yeah, that low is -13, and you used to not be able to launch it every single time. Now you can. I feel like while standing 3 is just such a good addition.
Yeah, it's
With
super
that being
good.
said, though, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to add that I still think Dragunov is 5/5 because some of his tools that other characters get to step sometimes Akuma gets just to he basically has to treat them as homing tools. Up 4/4, how the fuck are you gonna sidewalk that as Akuma? I don't know, very hard. Back 4/3, no way you're sidewalking that. You basically have to expect to get these moves blocked and then do something else.
Goki Akuma in chat giving us the move name Stiletto Heel.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The sick knowledge, the knowledge that matters. Yeah, I think that like a finishing thought on Dragunov, I think Damak 2-1 and Damak 2-2 is something that also kind of sucks for Akuma. Like you can't really don't really get much of a punish on damage 2-1-2, and it's kind of harsh to swing into damage 2-1 even with Akuma. So
And
yeah,
DP2 is not an option select, right?
no, it's not. It might be on big delay, but no, it's
Yeah,
not. It's
okay.
-10. It's -10. It's not -11. I think I'm making that
Oh,
up. So
wow. All
I don't
right.
think you ever can. You could
Yeah, and
probably
last hit,
SRK1, but
last hit is -14, but due to
no
this
launch.
tiny pushback, you won't get a launch.
So yeah, I think he goes there. Like he could possibly also be a like 4-5, 5-5, but I think it's
Yeah,
pretty fair.
there is an advantage to Dragunov, but it's nowhere near as big, in my opinion, as it used to be.
Yeah, let's go to Leo.
Oh, yikes! 4-6. Let's not
Yeah,
talk about
definitely 4-6. I think she goes here between Heihachi and Jack.
for now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it used to be worse, but it didn't get much better.
Yeah, DF2-3 in season 2, insane move. Just not. I'm not even talking about Akuma blocking it and punishing it. Just this move in general is quite amazing. Akuma never gets to do anything great versus Leo's uppercut unblock. Whenever uppercut is correctly spaced, all you can do is DF1-1, and then sometimes one of the hits is still like it still could
Yeah,
whiff.
exactly. Down for 2 really good versus Akuma. I think she has a ton of stuff that gives just enough pushback that you can't really realistically swing into her ever. Like basically, she has
That's
pretty good
absolutely true.
punish. She has really good counter hit moves in neutral. Like basically everything is gonna counter hit launch you. So approaching her is fucked up. I think her rage drive is pretty damn good versus Akuma. You can basically not do anything in the neutral when she has it.
Yeah, she's gonna wall splat you from across the stage. That's true. And one of her most important wall splats, being a low crush that is up 4-3, is also quite important in the
Yeah.
matchup.
And you can't realistically focus it. It's safe, you know. It's like a lot of reasons why it sucks.
Most of the things you won't ever be able to focus attack in the matchup.
Yeah. You don't really
They're
get to punish much stuff either. Like it's
Oh yeah, absolutely.
she's kind of safe on most things. You kind of have to win by being really lame, getting meter, and then getting the right mix-ups, I think.
Yep. Run up while standing 2, run up down 3, yay! Great gameplay, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we don't have to talk that much more, but I don't want to talk about Leo. Fuck Leo. She can
Yeah, absolutely.
be
Just
left behind.
her wall game is also quite good.
Yeah, for sure. And you can't really. I mean, we talked about this briefly. You can EXDP, but 98% loss rate is 98%. I don't think EXDP is basically ever a good answer unless you have 2 bars stocked and you win the round from using it.
Mm-hmm. Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Here's a matchup you probably know some stuff about. Feng.
Ooh, Fang's interesting. I feel like it's an easy 5-5 for Akuma. It's not like enough for it to be a 6-4, but it's, I mean, it could be, I feel like. But not enough really. He gets to flow Demon Flip really easily with Magic 4, but that's about it. His jabs aren't as good in doing that. Next up, some of his mix-up tools, when blocked, leave him very, very close, getting you this easy mix-up with down 3 clean hit range. I'm talking, of course, about sidestep down 3, sidestep 4, the dreaded mix-up. Same goes to the, same applies to the wall, where he gets sidestep +2. And him having these tools that are like +1 on block, DF1 0 on block, some of his lows having good frames on block, it matters way less versus Akuma, since he can just get such insane reward from a down jab, and he also gets access to SRK too. Yeah, it's really not a good time for Fang. His punishment, some of the tools Akuma has to use, like F21, is nice. He has shoulder, it's very consistent, but he's not going to get launch versus down 4, for example, ever.
Yeah.
He's not going to get a launch for versus the full down 4-2-4 string. It's not happening. And as for his lows, normally everyone thinks Fang has an amazing assortment of lows, which is true, but them being safe-ish doesn't really apply too much, because Akuma can simply while setting for 4 every time, even if he is out of range of down jabs. So yeah, just Akuma gets to backdash duck a lot in the matchup and gets lots of reward out of it. That's what I think.
Well, let's put him at like the top of 5-5 for now,
Yeah,
maybe. And
sounds about right.
We'll see where it goes.
Fang has BT moves. Perhaps that matters. Asked Grubby Game. Well, the thing about BT moves is that they end up mattering whenever Akuma gets jumps over Fang, and they end up standing back to back. And in these cases, it does end up important. But Akuma simply gets to jump again, and since most of great tools Fang has out of backturn are either low or mids with bad vertical hitboxes, Akuma jumping into Fang isn't really that big of a risk unless he goes for the jab. And him attempting some of his backturn mix-ups really isn't that good either, because Akuma gets just SRK. Oh, and this is also important. The one mid that Fang players use from backturn 1+2, same applies to backturn 2, but to a lesser extent. Akuma gets to simply heavy Tatsu on block. I mean, what's it called? Light Tatsu? The one that's I-14.
I think it's heavy.
The 3 times spinning kick. That's the one. You can simply do it, and you will punish him every single time. And this also applies to matchups like Yoshi, where he has the Fubuki knee. Also applies to Lily with her spring kick wheel thing, up close at least. This is a big tool. What are you talking about, Aki?
I think
I-10.
I think Aki heard minus, or well, heard I-14, not -14, or maybe you said I-14. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We know what you're talking about.
Of course. It's an I-10 special mid, and that's not low crushable. This makes it an extremely good answer to many attacks that leave opponents in backturn.
Yeah. For those of you out there not as technical, we are talking about swirl kicks.
There it is. Spinny, swirly kicks.
Let's do Lily. Speaking of backturn, I think this matchup is a 4-6. I think this is a losing matchup for Akuma. I think it's kind of interesting because you don't really have to deal with basically any backturn stuff. She can't really do shenanigans on you. Even the backturn mids that are safe versus other characters or just like dick jabbable get to be launch punishable by Akuma. So that is big. But on the other side, I would posit that Lily's sidewalk is AOP, but she gets to block back to on reaction. You realistically can't, like, you can't realistically basically do any move versus Lily unless you move before you do it. and that is really big.
A Lily, when played really well, basically forces you to play Tag 2, except you're still playing Tekken 7. You have to move before every single attack of yours, or else it's going to whiff.
Yeah.
And since her backdash is also okay, hitting that down 3 clean hit is not an easy thing to do again.
For sure.
Oh, and one thing I have to mention. Nobody ever talks about this, but I just hate it. You will probably think that I'm quite a scrub for mentioning this, but Lily's up 3+4. The jump that crushes I5, I think, and crushes many mids as well as all lows, actually gets her out of setups that are guaranteed on other characters.
And she gets out of Key Charge Demon with that.
Being beaten by Ice Beam in tournament a couple times, simply because I was doing stuff that's supposed to be guaranteed, and boom, up 3+4. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lily. Yikes! I know it's you kind of have to expect it once and level to focus this move one time, and Lily will stop doing it as often. But the sheer existence of this requires you to adapt your setups, because at certain startup frames it will crush 4-4-2 as well.
Yeah. I think it's not like a super major thing, right? But it's worth mentioning. I think she has pretty good punish as well versus Akuma. She's pretty good at floating demon flips because she has really far-reaching jabs.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously she can basically just sidewalk anytime she sees a demon flip, and she'll get like Akuma's back. Like, it's really hard to even get her with demon flip 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a 6-4 or a 4-6, in my opinion at least. It's probably the least impactful one of the 4-6 matchups, but I think like the big strengths Akuma has versus the character is basically stuff that people who are good don't really use anyway. Generally.
Yeah, that seems about right. I would still think that it's 5-5, but then again, I haven't played any of the like outstanding, fundamentally solid Lily players. Ice Beam wins versus me based on his setups. He's not using the things that would actually be like the things that we actually do talk about, the things that make Lily great in the matchup. If he were, then I would probably put it into 4-6 as well, but it's just my own experience is different from how it is.
I mean, we could put it at 5-5 for now and see where it goes.
No, I feel like putting it at 4-6 now is good. We could move it around for later.
You want to pick a character?
Oh yeah, just I wanted to add that if Lily is 4-6, might as well put Xiaoyu at 3-7, but that's fine for now.
Yeah.
Lily being on the easiest end of the 4-6 spectrum is fine. Kind of wanted to add something regarding the matchup, but I forgot. Oh yeah, I remember now. Season 2, Lily's forward to 3 is now 12 frames, up from 13. And this makes it a very, very consistent punish to fireballs.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that fireballs are normally 13, but there is this magic range where they are minus 12. Lily gets to punish it every single time now.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's minus 15 on block doesn't really matter.
No.
Because she's not going to get it blocked anyway. All right. Let's go to Eddie. I used to think Eddie was 6-4, but now at some point I realized that if you just play like a normal Eddie player is supposed to play, just back down, back down, back all day, side step 4, etc. It gets really, really nasty for Akuma. Reasons as to why it could be considered 6-4, meaning Akuma's advantageous. Akuma gets to launch relax every single time. Akuma gets to SRK for relax a lot, but obviously Eddie gets to cancel out of it. But him manually canceling out of relax in hopes of launching SRK2 leaves him open for many things.
Yeah.
So that's definitely not a good matchup in that regard for Eddie. I mean, using relax isn't as good versus Akuma as it is versus other characters for these reasons. There are also certain lows with interesting frames on block. I actually don't know the inputs of them, but Akuma gets to punish them all right. Sorry for my lack of knowledge in that regard. Back 3-3, down 3 tilde 3, these kinds of moves while sending 1-3, Akuma gets to launch every time unless Eddie does the tricky thing where he inputs the low get up kick on block. And even then, Akuma gets to launch it with SRK1 DC every time as well. Akuma's jump ins are quite nice. I'm not sure, but it feels like Eddie does not really have a solid anti-air. His jabs aren't as good, and he doesn't have any good highs in neutral that are fast enough to serve as an anti-air from mid-range or up close. However, with that being said, back 1+2, the evasive move, is extremely good versus while sitting 2 on block, because it beats almost every single Demon Flip extension as well as Fireball cancel. It doesn't beat Demon Flip 3 for some reason. I discovered this yesterday, but that's cool. Demon Flip 3 for some reason goes over it, even though other moves don't. But yeah, back 1+2 is quite nice in the matchup, even though it's normally just trashy. Evasive move versus Akuma, it doubles up as an anti-air also. Sounds insane, but yeah. The reasons as to why this matchup isn't good is quite simple, really. It's Eddie's amazing backdash. It's side 3+4. The sideways cartwheel that you cannot punish on block unless you block at point blank, and in which case you simply only get the single swirl kick for launch. But that's way too easy to misjudge the range of, and you'll get launched in turn.
Yeah.
Up 4-3, you don't have a option select for that move, and you basically have to guess just like every other character has to guess, whether it be the low, the cancel, or mid. You don't get to launch the Mirage launcher, DF3+4 that is. You don't get to launch it easily. Most of your attacks don't reach launchers, that is, so you have to resort to QCB3 launch again. And that requires meter. And size of 3+4 on whiff, you can reach it with FF21, but that requires you to be very, very fast, otherwise you'll just miss it. And Eddie gets to do it with no remorse in neutral. If he gets a float, he probably gets like a smallish combo. I don't really remember, but I think that's also the case. Sidestep 4-4 is quite good as well, since it's 0 on block. Quite a good move. So basically, as long as you play very, very safe with Eddie, just backdashing and using all of your save moves from your arsenal, you will make it an uphill battle. But there isn't enough tools for this playstyle in the arsenal to shut down Akuma completely due to no anti-air, so I think it's 5-5, although somewhere in the middle, perhaps closer to 4-6. I used to think it's 6-4, to be honest.
Put him somewhere around here, maybe? God damn it, this is hard to use. Oh, there we go. Put him smack in the middle.
The RD mix-up grubby game from Eddie, you can obviously EXDP that mix-up, but Eddie just cancels the stance and launches you in return. But as for teleport, I feel like I might be remembering this incorrectly, but there is one option, like the homing move, out of relax, that clips you in the teleport startup, but otherwise, yeah, it's a good tool. But you have to teleport, I feel like you have to teleport backwards. If you teleport through Eddie, I think he gets I don't really remember, but there was something. Oh, and yeah. The relax mid, that's homing, and -13, you don't really do much versus that move as well. It's the same thing as with Leo's uppercut. The pushback doesn't allow you to punish it with anything but the F1 want to do, and then it's inconsistent.
Yeah, should we move on?
Sounds good.
Let's see here. Let's pick a matchup. Let's do a new guy. Let's do Negan. Do you have any opinions on this matchup yet?
It might be 7-3 for all I know. I don't really see what Negan gets to do in the matchup. Perhaps it's just Negan being a one-dimensional character of sorts, but feels like it's a struggle for him to do much.
I think it's probably like... I've played this matchup quite a bit, and I think it's actually like 5-5. It might be up there with Feng and Orang, but don't really have to do much as Negan. He has a really good sidewalk and sidestep, which matters.
Well, that's basically me not having enough experience.
He has stuff like down for 2, which is like Jax in that you don't always get to punish it. You obviously don't always get to launch it, but you don't always get to punish it at all. Like back one can whiff 4-3, ends up in the magical I-15 range at times.
So the best you can do is standing 4, right?
Yeah, like if you really feel like his max range, standing 4 is the best. He has a really good sidestep launcher in, I think it's sidestep either just 1+2 or 1. It's like a big swing with the bat. It's a high. And I think this goes for like any character with like a big high sidestep launcher that's safe. It's really hard for Akuma to approach these characters because
That's true. And in case of Brian, it's also doubles up as an extremely good anti-air, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to that. I think it's like, just as a launcher, I think it's actually better than Brian's just because the range is better. Sidestep 2, Grubby says. Okay, might be that. Well, this probably is that, right? There is some good stuff. You can like teleport out of a lot of the intimidation stuff. But intimidation isn't really that good anyway. The throw is seeable. He doesn't have a low. He sort of gets to do intimidation 2 and B+ a lot. I forget if downback 4 is -13 or -12, but that low is really good. Like really fucking good. And Akuma, like it's the low that gives you the counter hit turnaround.
What's that downback 4 again?
I think it's downback 4. Pretty sure. And the way you realistically want to get out of it is to do a fussy guard down back.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. There was definitely Twitter discussions on this move specifically, and it's -13.
So it is -13. So that's better. I thought it was -12 for some reason. But Akuma doesn't really get to do much like bespoke stuff versus Negan in general. You'd think that like EXDP would be really good there, but it kind of isn't because you get this weird backturn EXDP, even though you aren't technically backturned. You kind of hit into the screen. So I think it's like he is kind of punishable in a lot of stuff. He's kind of good punishable for Akuma as well. He's like -10, -11, but close. So that's really nice. But he reaches really far, has good punish, has some like...
His jabs are good.
Yeah, his jab string is really fucking good.
And back 1+2 at the wall is strong. You could probably attempt to teleport, but then his jab strings will simply meet you there halfway.
Yeah, I think he can actually whiff back 1+2 and turn around and down forward to you for teleporting. It has like
Yikes! That
deceptively
doesn't
good whiff
doesn't sound fun.
recovery. But yeah, he is. It is Negan. He's kind of punishable on a lot of stuff. And like if you don't hit into him too much on plus frames or your minus frames, down back 4 is kind of just a good low poke. He doesn't really have power lows either. Like down back 2 is pretty bad because intimidation is pretty bad. So
yeah, it's not easy to block down back 2 on reaction, especially online and even in tournament. But him getting a hit on that move doesn't really do much.
Yeah,
You're right.
it does some damage, but that's about it. Grubby says that the auto low crush combo is pretty good, and I think it's one of those things that is nice on paper but doesn't really end up mattering. Maybe in the future people will actually not low parry with Negan and just press 3+4, but it's a lot riskier than low parrying. And Akuma doesn't really have, or well, he doesn't have any strings that end in a low, so you can't really realistically have an option that you always use instead of a low parry.
And unfortunately for Negan, his low parry window only starts 7 frames into the stance.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like Anna, where you could definitely use back 3 and use your stance low crush to launch seeable lows. In this case, in Negan's case, it has to be a read, and it definitely is worse than the low parry in terms of startup.
Yeah. Does give really good reward though, but probably isn't worth it, which is why you don't see people do it, I think.
And yes, Aki says that Elise is 4-6. I would probably agree with 4-6, but we probably will change this list to have halves as well. So it will probably go up to 6-4 on perhaps 6.5 on either side if we even need that. We probably do actually for Ling.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we did have a tier between 4-6 and 5-5, Elisa would probably be on the worse end of that tier, on the stronger end rather.
Yeah. Let's just see if we can like mow through some characters.
All right, let's pick both bears. That's a double kill, and this one, I don't really know. I haven't played too many strong ones. I do know for sure that there are good bear players in Finland, but I haven't yet met them too often online. And who even is a good bear player in the West? Needs more coffee? That person doesn't play too much, does he?
And there's like Gara in Finland, but Gara only plays online or with other Finnish people.
I feel like there are better bear players in Finland.
There probably are. I like really hard to play the Finns if you're Swedish for some reason. But yeah, I played some of the matchup. I think in theory it sort of ends up being a good matchup.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I was just thinking whether it's 7-3 or 6-4, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, Cosby says that Demon Flip 4 just whiffs on bears, which is not correct. Demon Flip 4 whiffs on bears if you don't do it instantly.
Yeah,
I know this doesn't sound exciting, but the fact that it whiffs. But if you do it instantly, it won't whiff. You have to delay it in order for that move to whiff.
I think the biggest drawback versus bears is obviously the stance. The stance and the wall combos. That's like the two biggest things they have going, I think, in general in the matchup versus Akuma.
Yeah, you have to be really freaking imaginative. Have great imagination to be able to get some semblance of Oki versus bears. Almost every single one of your BNB combos at the wall just ends up in a terrible position versus the character.
And you can do stuff that gives you similar Oki, but you're still losing damage. Generally losing quite a lot of damage. So that is like a big hit, and obviously the stance. It's very hard to clean hit down 3. A bear.
And yeah, Rubbish is talking about their neutral stance, the way a bear stands, not the hunting bear stance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're like this, like they're like sloping forward a lot. So their legs are always really far back on their hurt box.
Hey, could you use the other hand to show, since it's mirrored on screen?
Yeah, okay.
Or on P1.
So
perfect.
So it's very hard. Like if you're dashing into them, they're like a wall that you hit. So you're like really hard to hit them with the clean hits in general.
You're not gonna score a clean hit down 3 on them. However, with them being a bigger character, you simply can do like down 3 on hit into Demon Flip Throw, which will require them to commit to ducking, at which point you could just switch to mids, or down flip 4 for pressure. There are obviously things that are very good versus bears in Akuma's case. It's him being able to beat many of their stance transitions with a simple QCB4 swirl kick, as well as down forward 1, 2, I guess. You could also use that and just simply launch it outright with down 2. Then you also have, while sending 2 into Red Fireball, this is a new addition in Season 2, and bears cannot sidestep this, and bears get launched normal hit by this move most of the time, as far as my checking in practice mode was concerned.
Yeah, it's basically if you're off axis by quite a bit to either side. It's mostly when it's going to whiff.
Otherwise, it will work, and this makes while setting 2 an amazing tool versus bears. Basically, they are the worst character to end up on the receiving side of this mix-up, because Akuma will simply stay safe at -9 when he guesses wrong, and if he's close enough with down 3 and he gets the correct answer, he gets to get a launch. However, I guess the mind game gets to flip in their case. They have to be more afraid of while sitting 2 than down 3, interestingly enough, because of their stance. But yeah, many things work in Akuma's favor in the matchup. He ggets to punish their big electric better than Heihachi's, because there is what, -20, -19.
I think it's -20.
Yep, let's put them both in 6-4 and forget about it. Perhaps there is a reason to put them in 6.5 at some point.
Yeah. Let's do Chloe.
Ooh. Despite her being a low tier character, I feel like it's 5-5.
Yeah, I think it's 5-5 as well. I mean, she's a pretty small character. She has pretty decent movement, both backwards and to the sides. Her punishment is probably the weakest aspect of her matchup versus Akuma, I think. She floats him pretty well. She has a good down forward 1. She has armor moves that actually work.
Oh yeah, that's true. Her armor moves actually work versus Akuma. And he could also anti-air it easily.
Yeah. Cosby thinks it's a 7-3. In Akuma's favor? That's crazy to me.
Well, not exactly. Cosby says Chloe 7-3.
Oh, Chloe 7-3. Oh, okay.
I'm not sure which one it is, so you have to tell us more details, Cosby.
There is some stuff that's really nice to have. Akuma does have options like punish for the Roo kick very easily.
It's a strong punish, unfortunately.
It's a pretty bad punish, but it always works, and it's no execution requirements, so I think that's really nice.
Well, there is an execution requirement, but
well, since it's bufferable, so
buffering a QCB is not hard at all.
Yeah, I kind of wish you could do EX Tatsu. That would be really nice, but can't have everything.
Yeah, that's again the way buffering works, unfortunately, unless you neutral block it, I guess.
to me, there's very few like standout things either character can do to each other in this matchup.
I like Chloe's standing 4. I think it's her 12th frame mid, if I'm not mistaken. It's quite good versus Akuma, just to put him at bay and hold him there. It's quite nice for that. And for that, her counter hit knee is also alright.
Yeah.
But then again, you could jump over either of these attacks if you get a bad read on these. Is her hop kick still minus 15?
I think it's minus 17.
Yikes. Its fast recovery didn't allow me to launch it once with Beck 1 when I last played the matchup. It's sad.
She does have 2 hop kicks, though.
Yeah, right. The other one,
isn't.
the ugly one is minus 13.
Yeah. Time for 1+2 throw is more complicated. I mean, you do have options other characters don't, so I don't see how that is bad for Akuma.
Obviously, she could chase you down, but that requires a read on her part, and also requires her to basically react to the side you're teleporting into fast enough. Oh, I guess that's not a good idea. That's not a good thing to say, since if you teleport behind her back, she's going to launch you with a double roll.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still think, like, I mean, I wouldn't argue that Akuma's teleport is matchup warping or anything. It's not super good, but it's still an option other characters don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So, indeed. I mean, it's still a plus, even if it's a minor plus.
If I were to put her within the 5-5 scale, I would probably put her closer to... Actually, I don't know. Somewhere in the middle, dead in the middle, to me seems just fine.
Oh, if I can hit my shoulder. Or my elbow, sorry.
Yeah, we will definitely rework this matchup chart to just have more rows, so that it's more specific.
Yeah, I think maybe I could do that now, actually. We could pick a character. You pick a character you want to talk about, and I can try to flip around this a bit. Any matchups you feel like
Sure. Grey Ninja 93, like 20 minutes ago, asked us, what about Armor King? Hopefully you're still there, Grey Ninja, and... In my opinion, Armor King is also 5-5, but... Again, I don't have enough experience versus these strong Armor King players. There are things that he gets to do versus Akuma that kind of shut him down, but that also applies to normal King as well. Again, not that big of a deal, but both Giant Swing and Instant Shining Wizard hit 2D characters out of the air, and he gets an air throw versus them that way. His low attacks are okay-ish. You get, obviously, while staying for 4 punish versus both his poke lows, but I don't remember if you get anything better. Perhaps some of the pushbacks on block he gets sometimes don't allow you to launch them, but I don't know enough about these moves to really say.
Let's just do like a quick jump here. Was these the characters that we felt were 4-5-5-5? Kazumi, Elisa, and Dragunov?
Elisa and Dragunov for sure. Kazumi, yeah. Eddie might be there, but I feel like he's better suited for 5-5 for now. Yes, Kazumi is a good idea.
I'll put the Bears in 6-5.
Yep, that sounds good. Oh, and my bad. I remember now. For Kazumi, we agreed that it's somewhere in the middle of 5-5 matchup.
Yeah, we'll put her here for now. Actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so good. Armor King. To me, Armor King is also... I agree that it's probably 5-5. I think something that's really good versus Akuma, though, is... For both Kings, is 4-2-1. I think 4-2-1 is super good versus Akuma. Especially in
Absolutely,
this
yes.
game, since it's not minus, was it 11 or 10 in
I believe it
prior?
was -10 in Tech 2, but Armor King does not have the mid extension
Yeah,
to it, which I honestly just hate in King's Arsenal.
yeah,
I don't like him getting access to this at all. Armor King does not have this, but still, this tool at his disposal allows him to whiff punish, jump in attempts from long range.
yeah,
Just fireballs with punishment is quite good. Him with punishing, I mean, block punishing things like the full DF2 string as well as DF4. It also gets very,
yeah.
very tricky.
I think in general, Armor King's damage output is so high as well that
That's true.
even if he doesn't get to, I think he kind of has to play pretty honest versus Akuma, but he does so much damage that it kind of works out.
And Akuma's small frame, small width body does not do anything against
Yeah.
Armor King. His combos are basically universal, and they universally all deal high damage because of how well standing For's hitbox is so good. One small thing you could mention when fighting online Armor Kings is that they love doing down back 2-3. It's a mid-high string that's not easy to duck unless you are used to it, and it has good range, quite good startup. It's I-14, and it wall splats from a nice distance. So you will probably see a lot of our use this string, so just simply duck the second hit and force them into using the mid. And the mid, Akuma gets to punish extremely heavily.
Yeah.
You could simply go to Rubbish's Twitter, and you'll be able to find little death combos from one bar. Or perhaps this wasn't Rubbish. It's
I
Leslie.
think that's Leslie. I think that's Goki.
Yeah.
Goki Kuma. The
Literally a full 170 HP combo single bar as punish to this move. Yeah, Goki Akuma's Twitter is a gold mine for Akuma knowledge.
Yeah, he's really good at finding like high damage combos. It's like one of the best combo video producers for the characters, I think. For the character, I think. So yeah, and it's consistent as
absolutely true. Definitely way easier to do than to fireball if ADC back one.
I had this dude on my YouTube channel who left a comment that was like, I can't, it isn't working. And I feel like, oh, I'm going to be a good Samaritan here. Because like my YouTube self is so nice in comparison to my real life self. I'm like the greatest human being on YouTube ever. I'm so nice. So I'm like, oh, what's not working? Oh, you gotta do this. Oh, you want to hold the focus. And this shit went on. It's like a comment chain that's like this long, and I never understood what the problem was. I still don't know why. And I think he left a comment like, oh, I got it. I don't no fucking clue what changed. Right. Yeah, shout outs to that guy.
Perhaps he was attempting to do it in neutral versus just Armor King standing still.
I have no idea. Yeah. Well, let's do King. I think maybe...
I just wanted to say that I don't really know what good anti-air tools does Armor King have, but I feel like he still does quite decently, just because of his jabs being nice and forward 2 being in the game. So yeah, it's like on the cusp, 4.5 to even, in my opinion.
Did you know that thing about Armor King standing 4? And that he has like no whiff frames? His Magic 4 has like 8 less whiff frame than other Magic 4s.
Yikes. Okay, well, that changes things.
But, I mean, I don't think it makes it, like, it doesn't really jump anywhere, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Definitely something worth mentioning, indeed.
So, King. I think King is probably worse than Armor King.
Oh, yeah. We can just put him right into forward 4.5 and then see where we go from there, just based on discussion. I don't like this matchup one bit. I mean, I like it better than Xiao Yu, obviously, or Jack
Yeah.
or Leo, but it's still quite a struggle. Like, even if you don't keep in mind that, technically speaking, King's 50-50 out of his wave dash with all of his throws that are available to him is just so good, considering his while standing launcher is only -10 as the mix up. He still has tools like the push, forward, neutral, 1+2, right? Is
Yeah.
that the input? Yeah, that thing doubles up as a great anti-air and obviously gets him wall split from like across half the stage. His down 3 is great. He just has a couple lows that work just enough to make his entire arsenal nicely.
Yeah.
His back 1 is a nice anti-air at early frames. You can still jump over it, but he gets like some other tools to anti-air you at later frames too.
Yeah. And he has 4-2-1 as we discussed with Armor King, but his also has a punish mix-up. If you're like on point and actually like duck it consistently, you can mix it up for pretty good reward.
Oh, absolutely.
441 I think is really good in the neutral. Depending on how late it hits into focus attack, he can duck focus as well, which I think is really fucked up considering how good 441 is.
It's -5 on hit, and obviously every single king in the universe sidestep hop kicks afterwards. But it's not even about -5. It leaves him up close, but you are not really free to do things that you would love to do at -5 because of how evasive his new Season 2 edition is. Is it sidestep 2 as well?
Yeah, exactly.
That thing has surprisingly a surprising amount of avoidance, like evasiveness built into it. His sidestep is also okay-ish. It works at least.
He has good punish as well, which is worth
his
noting.
Punishment is great. That's true. And the presence of Giant Swing, just him buffering it everywhere, is a bit of an issue sometimes, because if you try to jump out of an unfavorable situation, he'll just snatch you out of the air.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Gigas's, where he actually consistently can use his throw as an anti-air, but it's good enough, and the damage is alright.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like some of the options Akuma has that is really good versus King, and I think it's kind of low amount of really good stuff. I mean, there's things like, you could technically launch down for the 1-2 and stuff like that, but even then, it's pretty sketchy. Just because down for the 1 delay 2 is not -10. Thankfully, there isn't a window in which you can do down for the 1 delay 2 and have it be NC and safe in this game, but still.
Come on. Why would you do this, Rada?
Still very good.
There was something else I wanted to mention in the matchup. Did I forget about it again? Yikes.
Yeah, I think, what is it? Is it 443 plus 4?
Body blow is technically -14, but there are many ranges at which it's -13 with good pushback, and this, again, does not allow Akuma to launch it. The only thing you can do as a consistent punish to body blow, which launcher King has, is DF1-2. It's a bit of a problem sometimes too.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, the flying drop kick, this spinning one, is one of those things that I hate that move, and people think I'm an idiot for complaining about it. But Akuma can't really punish mid get-up kicks at all. So
that's true.
It reaches like the entire screen. At times, it actually tracks Akuma to one direction. And if you block it, you have to guess a wake-up kick 50-50.
You don't have enough frames to teleport, do you?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if he doesn't do anything, he could probably get up and launch you. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised.
That's true. That's true. I also really have lots of distaste for some of these moves that everyone else thinks are joke moves. Like at some point in my Tekken career, I used to really despise King's sidestep high attack. The one where he spins in
Oh
the air
yeah,
and
what
deals
is
like 50
step
damage.
4?
Yeah. People just do it randomly, and if you're not holding back, boom, have
That
life
shit with
gone.
rage in tag 2 does like 50%.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
insane. The list, sprayed, is that the name?
Seems to be.
The list is a matchup chart of sorts for Akuma. So obviously up here we got 7-3, which would be a matchup in which Akuma wins on a theoretical plane 7 out of 10 matches and loses 3. On the flip side, we got here, which is he loses 3.5 and wins 3.5, loses 6.5 out of 10. So we're kind of ranking the characters.
We're basically halfway down, but we did agree on going a bit of a faster pace.
Yeah,
that's true.
let's do the Mishimas that remain in some sort of order. Let's start with Kazuya.
A bit of a disadvantage, but obviously not as high as Heihachi. There could probably be an argument made for this to still fall within 5-5, except he will probably be on the harder end of the spectrum.
Yeah. I would probably put him at 4-5-5-5, the start of that. There is some juicy stuff you have. Obviously, like the punish on down for 2 is pretty massive.
Mm-hmm.
But
there obviously is a range at which neither a jab or down jab will reach, but this is a very hard range for Kazuya to get consistently.
But I think it sort of gets overestimated a little bit because it's like most Kazuya players don't really like if you're at the low level or low to mid level, Kazuya players will do down for 2 all the time. And then they'll sort of stop for a bit, and then they'll start doing it again when people start disrespecting them again and when people start moving a lot. But Akuma doesn't really get to sidewalk, electric, and hell sweep that much. It's pretty hard for him to do it, I think, at least in my experience. So down for 2 becomes less of an option that the Kazuya player who is good will really want to do that often. It really becomes more of only a disrespect counter hit fishing move. So the punish is really good, but it's less impactful than one might think.
So you definitely have to always keep in mind down forward 2 whenever you're trying to contest his frames. There's also his CD3, which goes through fireballs clean and punishes them from most ranges. That's also important if you like this passive plasma chugging game. Chucking.
And he obviously has the best, well, he probably has the best the best punish for down forward 1 string both directions in the game. With twin pistons basically always hitting down forward 1-2 and being able to duck down forward 1-1. And since twin pistons is so fast, you don't really have to stress too much about being fast enough to launch it, because down forward 1-1 does recover pretty fast. But TP is I-13, so
twin pistons are so fast, in fact, that you can even launch Akuma's 1-1 online if you are that on point. Because with a 15-frame launcher, it's extremely hard for you to get this consistently online, even if you are actually on the lookout for the move.
Yeah.
But with Kazuya, it kind of gets a bit easier.
Yeah, so should we move him here and maybe move on from there?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I would love to put Alisa to the right of him and just continue on to Devil Jin.
I think this is pretty hard to argue that it is in Akuma's favor to begin with. Like that's not gonna happen. So it's like baseline 4-5-5-5, but I would probably put it as a 4-6. Like my gut tells me that.
Yeah, we could definitely put him as 4-6. It's probably easier than Heihachi, but not by much.
Yeah, I think they're kind of like they're not. They're similar in their. I was gonna say they're similar in their Mishima moveset, but they're very different in the other things that make the matchup hard. It's not really about like not being able to deal with big swings and like stupid counter hit moves, in my opinion.
Aki does mention something that is kind of relevant to this discussion. Kazuya does not have access to a solid low crushing move. His only one is up 3, and that's basically only reserved for wall situations because it doesn't do anything on hit like in the open. However, with Devil Jin, his main move, which is arguably his top 5 move, up forward 4, it's a solid low crush, and he will use it every time. And the situation on hit is garbage for you as a defender, be it in the open or at the wall. He will use it just like, not even just like, he will use it way more often than Heihachi would use up forward 3-4, and up forward 3-4, the Hunting Hawk was enough of a move, like enough of a low crush, good enough of a low crush for us to mention it.
Yeah. I think.
And Hell Sweep has nice tracking.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I think like he has all the good Mishima stuff, obviously. Then he also has can-cans, which Devil Jin players love to shit on for some reason, even though none of them ever launch I-15 with electric anyway, so I don't know why they give that move any like shit. It doesn't really matter for Devil Jin that much how good the starter is either, I think, because he's generally gonna get to the wall anyway. He has really good carry.
His wall carry is definitely better than average, and yes, he is the only character out of these 3 Mishimas who gets an easy peasy launch versus KCP3. Versus Kazuya or Heihachi, you could make it an argument that you could simply just run up and do it sometimes and expect them to block it as opposed to duck it and not being able to launch it.
Yeah.
But with Devil Jin, he gets to launch it either way.
Yeah. I think you can also mention that Devil Jin's up 4 is incredible. Like, it's really good versus Akuma, I think. You do get a really good punish, but any character gets a really good punish, really, versus up 4. But it's so good because on hit on a lot of things that are good for Akuma, like down for the 1-1, stuff like that, like those sort of frames. Like if you don't finish a counter hit 1-1, for example, those frames are like just in the window where Devil Jin's up 4 has like basically full crush. Like it's basically involved.
The sickest crushing capabilities this move could ever have. This is kind of similar to Lily's up 3+4 jump thing, but this is definitely different. And also, Devil Jin gets to do it from floor. That's also nice.
Yeah, but like it's pretty fucked up that in a lot of situations, like you can think of his up 4 as an EX DP, but he doesn't have to like pay meter for it in this matchup, or whatever. But like in this matchup, we can think of it as an EX DP, and he gets a combo if he hits it. So like it's pretty crazy. It sucks ass when you hit him with down forward 1-1, then you go for down forward 1 again, and his up 4 beats it. So it would beat your mid and your low.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing for Devil Jin it's going on for him in this matchup in tournament. The punish Akuma gets is a jump in or into whatever you want. It's going to be either a float or an actual punish if he does up 4 standalone, but it's not easy. Okay, it's not too difficult to time the correct up jump in moment to press for, but you can definitely fuck it up. So what I like to do instead is just dash DP, and that's not gonna get me a combo versus up or standalone meter.
Yeah,
At least it's
and
safe. I mean, at least it's consistent.
I think it's can be sketchy as well to hit meterless combo for standing. If you hit up 4, you kind of have to hit a very precisely timed up 4 to
Yeah, that's
get
what I
enough
meant.
frames. So, Aki asks, is Devil gonna get hit by down for 1-1? Can up for the next down for 1? Yes, that is correct. Yes, like it's the, I think it's like frame something to something. It's like a 4-frame window or something where he basically doesn't exist. And then he
Wow.
pops back into existence. Let's do Jin as well. Let's count him as a Mishima.
I have lots of trouble versus Jin, but that's probably not a thing every single Akuma player feels like. I despise his 2-1. As if you're playing a character whose sidestep isn't good, or just somewhere in the middle of the pack, sidestep, I mean, just 2-1, his string alone gives lots of trouble to it. He locks you up so well with this string due to how the second hit of it tracks to his left that you cannot consistently sometimes step forward 4 because you kind of expect to get hit by 2-1 already. His forward 4 is obviously good. Of course you can sidewalk it. Every single character other than Eddie perhaps can sidewalk it, but the existence of 2-1, the existence of his standing 4 really does
Standing
a
4 is
number
really
on
good.
Akuma.
Yeah, he has good punish as well. And like if you account for people actually learning how to do I-14 electrics, he has really good punish. So yeah, I think I'd agree with you that it's pretty harsh. I think it's also like, I think stature kicks in general are really good. Even though you do get to punish them really well, it's kind of, when you can't, like when you're locked down more than other characters in moving, they become really, really fucked up, I think.
That's the thing. His 2-1 is so good at discouraging you from moving around. Down back 4 becomes basically homing. I know this is a stupid sentence for me to just say out loud, but yes. Akuma gets to sidewalk it to his right and his left, but his right is preferable due to other things he can do. But if your sidewalk right is perfect, you will avoid 2-1. But if you are sidewalking, even like if you're sidewalking around Jin, if not at point blank, but if there's some distance between you and him, sidewalking to your right will result in the second hit clipping you every time. You have to be point blank to allow yourself. I mean, to make this happen. If you're not, you're gonna get clipped. And this string is just so good. It also has extensions, obviously. Back to 1 is good in neutral.
Yeah.
It's only +2 on hit, but whatever. It's still good in neutral. It's safe. There's some pushback on block. Jin is known to be one of the best anti-airers in the game, in that standing 4, standing 2, and standing 3 are both extremely good anti-air moves. Obviously, we'll also mix up with how Super Akuma jumped around and shat on Jin's head with no remorse, but that's because of how well he timed his jumps and how well he chose his arcs to beat Chikorin. And then again, there were things like he was doing ZF1 in this range, and that's not a good tool at all.
Yeah.
But in general, these moves, 1-2, 2-1, standing 4, and standing 3 are extremely good anti-air. You're not going to get a jump in on a good Jin, like, unless you are extremely good at practicing this range and entertaining the possibility of you jumping many directions and ranges.
Yeah. I think there's like, as for Akuma strength in the matchup, pretty much the only thing like that's very specific to Jin I can think about is being able to OS through 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 4 in like a meaningful way.
Yeah, the very first time you next time Jin does 1-2, it's just gonna low parry your down jabs.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, like, Jin players don't have to do 1-2-3 or 1-2-4. Like, you don't have to do that. It's not an integral part of the character, so that's not really a meaningful thing to me.
Jin's sidestep is worse than kind of a generic sidestep, if you could call it that. So he doesn't really. he has kind of some struggle with dealing with 4 in neutral, but then again, he simply can time his forward 4 well enough, and your entire game plan of keeping him at bay is gone just like that.
I think 4-4 is also launch punishable on parry.
Of course, yeah, it is
So
definitely.
there is that. Yeah, I think we put him in 4-6. Here's a question: do you think he's worse than Heihachi? I think he's worse than Devil Jin.
I feel like this placement that he just did is fine. I'm not sure if he's even that bad or if it's just me, but I'm definitely not comfortable with playing this matchup at all. Not to mention his while standing 2 punish, all the options, is one of the best in my opinion. All he has to do, and I checked it very, very scientifically, thoroughly, every single option I could possibly think of. All he has to do is sidestep 1-2, sidestep right 1-2. This will beat everything, every demon flip. This will beat an uncancelled fireball, and this will also beat a cancelled fireball. If you FADC, he gets to hit you in the frames where you're blocking, and if you're going to hold the focus attack, he will recover in time to block's level 2 focus attack. And if he does that, and you simply do while standing 2 uncancelled, you can just do sidestep right DF1 to interrupt instead of jabs. That's also very sick. And I definitely wish Crazy Cherry Berry Mango, whatever his name is, knew this before going into the mix-up.
Do you?
Would have made for a more interesting final.
I kind of like the blow up. That's just me. Let's see. Can we do some? I don't know. Let's do Raven. I think Raven is. I think I might think that's a losing matchup as well.
I don't know. It might be on the cusp of equal and losing. Although a 4-4 alone is an extremely good move that does wonders in
really
matchup.
Good.
If she didn't have it, then sure, you could call this 5-5 easy or even, I don't know, 5.5. But this move alone, the existence of it.
I think the thing with Raven, for me, is like, you have... Oh, that's a neck snap. Damn. She has a lot of stuff that isn't good versus Akuma. I mean, people who... This is sort of bad in general, but people who rely a lot on like doing these, like doing damage 2 unfinished, damage 2-1, 4-1, those kind of mix-ups, even with her power crush, I don't think that's a good way to play versus Akuma, because you give up. You tend to like play this stupid risk reward game with Akuma where you hit him 5 times and then he hits you once and you die, but I think it's almost impossible to approach this character. Black Hole is so good versus Akuma. It's insane how good that move is. Like, it's
your
crazy.
Dash blocking has to be on point
if
you want to stop. And on block, it's -14, right?
Yeah, but I think you only get... I think down forward 4 is your best punish.
What about 4-3 down 4?
What did you say?
What about 4-3 into down 4 guarantee?
I'm not sure about that one. I know Goki Leslie looked this up and ended up on down forward 4 because I had been looking around for it as well, and I had sort of started playing into this weird punish mix-up instead with the parry because the reward was so good. But I think he landed on down forward 4 being the answer.
Okay.
Maybe because like parry whiffs or something, I can't remember. But
parry
yeah,
stops being active unless it has to time it really well.
Yeah. So Black Hole, really good. Upward 4. I mean, every time you try to get in to do down 3 stuff versus her, she basically up 4-4s you.
Uh-huh. Not to mention that up 4-4 makes her full crouch mix-up extremely good.
Oh yeah.
Since up 4-4 alone gets a knockdown. It's attackable knockdown, but if you attack, you are in for more fun. More full crouch fun. While Standing 2 is great. Nice anti-air property is not the best, but it works sometimes. Move alone is great. She does have a sizable amount of unsafe stuff, obviously, but some of it is like has enough pushback, and good players just don't use it.
Yeah. I think
what
it's worth
else?
noting as well that she is one of the characters that can, in a lot of situations, can dash versus demon flips and then instantly murder your entire life bar by switching sides.
Oh yeah, I also looked into While Standing 2 stuff with her, and she gets to do down forward. That thing beats everything other than short flip 1, and down forward 4. If you do it uncancelled, she simply does the entire string, and if you do it cancelled, she gets a float combo. Either way, that's nice. The thing you mentioned with down back 2 in Tekken 7, she simply can turn around and block whatever you want with down back 2. But the thing is about that cancel, and this will also be important in the lane matchup too. She cannot block lows for like 17 more frames. So her doing down back 2 cancel obviously lets her block jabs, but she is incapable of blocking down 3. That's why doing down back 2, any which way you look at it, is bad for Raven even if you cancel it properly.
Yeah.
She simply is incapable of blocking down 3 in that case. But that doesn't really mean much. She has lots of other things that are going well for her in the matchup.
I think maybe we can have her on like the end of 5-5 for now.
That sounds good.
Let's do Steve? Where is Steve?
Yikes. 4-6 for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's whatever. We can switch the placement later, but
I would probably put him before. Between Jin and Hihachi, but that's just me.
I just put him there because I didn't like. I don't want to put him somewhere and feel locked in. I don't know what is there to say about this matchup.
Back one's anti-air properties are insane.
Yeah,
he gets to anti-air you almost from any jump arc, unless you literally do like instant demon flip 1 from point blank. Otherwise, it's easily done on reaction. People have been doing this to me since before time immemorial. Back one anti-air is great. He has a combo, obviously. There is like DF2 is also an extremely good move in general, but for Akuma he has to cancel it and block down 3. But the mind game isn't that good because there is a range at which it's not going to clean hit, even if he like cancels it. Does it? It's weird.
I think Steve is also one of the characters in the game that is the most likely to, when you jump over a character that is doing an advancing string and the game decides that it's not happy with something whiffing and the character turns around instantly and hits you out of the air.
Flicker jab extensions will basically almost always hit you in the back if you're jumping over Steve stuck in this doing.
4-2-1 also does this a lot. I feel like Steve is probably the character in the game that has the highest propensity of anti-airing Akuma when you're not trying to anti-air Akuma.
Sounds about right. There sure is something to be said about like Miguel randomly anti-airing, but that's or Josie, but that's minor compared to Steve. Steve's down 2-1 is a great string. Obviously, Akuma gets to do more things to Steve on block, but still, you're not allowed to fireballs in neutral because they're literally launchable on reaction with Duck 2. Duck 2 is fast enough to launch them and will pass through them, like starting from like 7 frames into its startup. Yeah. So that's good.
Duck 2 is also one of those beautiful -14 moves that very hard to punish.
Back one whiffs
Yeah, back one whiffs. 4-3
Standing
doesn't work.
and whiff. Sometimes DF1, I don't think there is a range where it actually whiffs, but there might be. And even then, the extension will definitely whiff.
Yeah. So it's not great. On top of that, I mean, he's Steve. He does good damage. He has great counter hits, good carry.
His wall pressure is very good.
Yeah.
Definitely something to be afraid of. And then you're not gonna use your focus attack in the matchup, but the only thing I expect, hope to focus attack with is Albatross. Was it 1? 2? The Albatross mid, where it spins.
I mean, it changes because you switch input on spins. Double spin is the other button, I think.
I meant the single spin as a wall pressure / wall split.
Oh yeah, I was saying like that the input for the move switches if you're doing 1 spin or 2 spins.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I get it. That's basically the only move you can expect for Steve to throw out your way that actually is susceptible to focus attack, other than while running 2. But come on.
Yeah. Maybe you could argue 4-4-2. But
then again, they will also not do that, considering you get an easy peasy launch without setting 3 almost every single time.
Exactly. I had something on the tip of my tongue here. Oh yeah, his new rage drive is, well, new, but god damn is that move good.
Insane. Yeah.
I was so sure that move was going to be at least minus on block. I was like, oh my god, I was so sure.
No cigar.
Nope.
Duck 1 interruptible.
Let's do Brian.
I don't actually know how to feel about Brian. I feel like this might just be might be better for Akuma than it is for Brian. That's how it feels, in my opinion, anyway.
I mean, I think I would agree. Brian doesn't really do super well, like, at... People know this. He's not like a great poking character in the way that like a Kazumi is or something like that. He kind of relies on the power moves. And if you rely on power moves, you're very susceptible to quick counter hit moves, which Akuma has a bunch of. Akuma can also, in this matchup, he doesn't really suffer from bad movement, because the stuff that you want to sidewalk, you can. Like
that's true.
Hatchet kick and down for 2-1
and you would actually be very, very happy to sidewalk versus Brian, so that you could at least make him use the homing Mac kick.
Yeah,
since that's punishable for you.
And also Brian sort of moves like a truck. He's not like, doesn't have great movement.
His only power low that is not Snake Edge. It's a low soccer kick. You get to launch every single time very easily as well.
Yes, there's a lot of blocks done, long animation, like very nice combination for Akuma.
One of the more important strings he does use is machine gun combination. You get to punish it with heavy tatsu.
Yeah,
most of the hits anyway.
I try to think about, like, Brian's counter hit moves that are really scary are also kind of slow. So
yeah, there is an argument to be made about 3+4. His 3+4. You won't be able to focus it unless you are very, very early.
Yeah.
It has great range. You struggle with sidestepping it quite a bit, but that's like the only one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like with down for 2-3 as well. That's one of those things where Akuma often can't punish it.
No, actually, DF1-2 reaches often.
I think it's one of those things where if your off axis like a millimeter, down for the 1-2 is sketchy. But that might just be me. I don't know. But still, even if you never could punish down for 2-3, it wouldn't make the matchup horrible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Yeah,
it matters
that's
too much.
definitely true.
He can launch Corsair back 4 every single time, obviously,
But
but
that's minor
yeah,
again. You can teleport out of his taunt pressure unless Brian sets it up impeccably where there isn't even a 5-frame window.
yeah,
Of course, he can cancel taunt and run up for you, but that then means he has to respect teleport next time again, and it's not easy to just run up and launch as Brian,
yeah.
since you basically are restricted to doing an extremely fast orbital, which you won't be able to do, or just run up and jet upper, but that's not easy
Yeah.
again.
I think maybe the most consistent thing would be like run up forward 4-1.
No. Grubby game. You teleport towards him. Yes, through
Yeah,
him.
through him. Yeah, but I think this is. I don't know. I don't know if it's as good as Lars or Noctis. Maybe it is. Maybe it is a 6-4. Maybe. Oh wait, sorry. Maybe we need a 5.5.
I would love to. Wait. You don't have one?
No,
Wait.
we don't have one yet. I think we skipped that one. Let's do one. I'm gonna have to move these up. Can I?
Yeah, let's just remove 7-3.
Can I? Can
For
I?
now.
I think I can do this, right? Oh yeah, I can do that. There we go. That's easier.
I mean, probably is an argument again to be made for this to be 6-4, but yeah, it might just be. But for now, let's put him there.
Yeah.
Right. I'm feeling Lei.
Lay.
6-4. In my opinion.
Yeah,
Again,
I think not
easy,
being able to deal with Razor Rush is like, well, having ways to make it really wonky for Lay is like super nice.
Yeah, if it would have been amazing for Akuma if not for the pesky Razor Rush bug, in where if you do 4 hits and transition, Lei auto blocks special mids and lows faster than I-14. It's a literal bug because it's actually minus 13. It's supposed to be, but he like blocks 13 and faster things as a bug, and you cannot SRK through that. That's for this reason. But other than that, this minor thing, lots of things work in Akuma's favor. Lace tracking is great. Who gives a shit? I'm not gonna step anyway. I'm Akuma, alright? It's not gonna matter for me. FF3 is an amazing move. People have to resort to choosing options. Not for Akuma, again, option select punish a lot of the time. Razor Rush, most hits, just Tatsu.
You can backwards teleport as well if you're really not feeling it, and Lei has to do weird shit too.
That's absolutely true. Then you can simply literally SRK through some of the stances and transitions. For example, whenever he goes into Panther, you just SRK through it, and there are situations where even if he cancels it, he still cannot block it in time. But that's not often happens. His panic move up 4-3, and this is what I wanted to mention alongside Raven's thing. Everyone, whenever they do up 4-3, they simply cancel it into blocking since he's in crane stance. And this is also a problem for him because he cannot block lows. It cancels it for like a lot of frames. So you get a clean hit down 3 versus him and this panic move of his every time. And if he doesn't cancel, then yikes, you just launch him again. Other stances also deal terribly with chap strings, and his demon flip anti-airs aren't as great either. Although he can up FF3, but that's not a good move in the matchup, period.
Yeah, I think down 4 is also really good versus people who like to try to engage in weird play dead stuff. Or like you just
it's amazing.
Roundhouse him in the head every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to engage with that.
If he insists on one stance where like face, you can launch him with jump in EX air fireball.
I can't remember. Is Lei a 1-frame demon flip character? I feel like he's small, and small characters tend to not be, but I also feel like he might be 1 frame.
I thought he was 2. Let me look it up real quick.
Can Lei escape demon with stance transition? I do not think he can. Pretty sure I checked.
Which situation are you thinking of, Grubby Game?
I assume this is key charge demon.
No, Lei is 1 frame as well as Leo. No, key charge demon. No, it's not escapable. Normal demon.
Probably.
No, I mean, actually, he cannot.
Okay,
His bladed does not become grounded fast enough, so he has to jump as well.
But I mean, yeah, I feel like dealing with normal demon is such a non-factor for most characters.
But yeah, the matchup just doesn't in his favor at all. Many things that other characters have to resort to just using move with low reward versus him, or simply go for an option select. I mean, a punish that gets beaten by something. Akuma gets to do his dumb stuff either way, and it will work. That's just Lei's design.
Let's do Lee. I think Lee is a losing matchup for Akuma in Season 2. He was always a character that was really hard to get in on because back 4 is so good. Like, it's such an incredible move. But once you got in, you could really go ham, basically, I think. He has some good counter tools but in Season 1, but still, like, nothing that was super amazing in comparison to other characters with decent counter tools. But with the addition of down 3 counter hit in Season 2, it becomes super fucked up. It basically becomes like a weird mirror matchup when you're up close, because he can swing into your, like, you basically can't play with the 1-1 down 1-2 stuff.
In that regard, you're right.
He just swings into it and he gets a meterless combo from a 15
this is also
frame.
Exacerbated by the fact that his slow crush moves are good.
Yeah,
I'm not even talking about his copy. I'm talking about 4-3. The high extension of which now gives a full launch as well. So that's also important in the matchup. Quite important, honestly.
I'm not sure I would put it at a 4-6. Maybe I would, actually. Maybe I would put it at the top of 4-6 or at the bottom of 4-5-5-5.
I was thinking 5-5, but I guess I haven't played too many.
I think that's like his counter game is so fucked up in Season 2, and he has really good anti-airs. His jabs are really good at anti-airing, and
jabs
his
and standing
4.
Mm-hmm. Let's settle on 4-5.
Yeah, let's put him like, I think I could put him like either somewhere right here. Like
honestly, I like the down 3 situation on hit for me whenever it hits for him, because I just the first time I simply do down 1-2 into demon, and that beats, I mean, not into demon flip, and that beats a lot of options. And then he's forced to cancel the stance and low parry me, which allows for more pressure on my end. So I don't feel like landing down 3 on hit with the transition is good for him, but down 3 counter hit, the existence of this option in the first place is
I think
good.
Down 3 is like, on normal hit, it's not super big deal. It's basically the counter hit option, I think, that really fucks you up a lot, because he has a magic 4 as well, and down 3 is so fast that in a lot of situations you can't really play a 1-1 or down 1-2 mix up counter hit thing in your favor, just because your options cost meter and his doesn't. So that's sort of how I feel about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Aki asks if Kuma is worse. Well, there probably is an argument to be made for this to be 7-3, but we have decided to shrink our matchup tier list so that 7 isn't included, and 6-5 either side is the top one.
Yeah.
I feel like it's fine for now.
Let's
Any characters you are 100% sure with the placement of, so that we can just place them real quick and go to some of the harder ones? Harder to place ones?
Am I certain about some characters? I would probably put Bob as a top 5-5.
I agree with this. Perfectly fine. I could actually think... I used to like... Not even used to. I still think it could be considered 5-5. But, I mean... no, that's not what I mean. 5.5.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Our favorite.
Yeah.
But either one is fine with me.
Yeah, I think it's like... I think it kind of used to be better, but Bob used to be worse, so... The addition of like rollback for up for 1+2, I think does a little bit for him, since you get to use headbutt, and you didn't get to use headbutt before, but it's not a super major thing.
His anti-airs are fine. His movement, his attacks in neutral are also fine. You're not gonna focus through much of his things other than 4-4-2 maybe. He just has overall better neutral than you do, but up close, you're great. You have lots of great counter hit option. You get to snatch him out of the air with Demon Foot Throw quite a bit earlier than others as well, so it's also a thing.
One of his biggest strengths as well, with downward 1 being basically homing at certain frames and distances, doesn't really matter versus Akuma, since he wouldn't be able to step it even if that was tracking in those situations.
Yeah, and he gets to punish Tatsu.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's a pretty fair 5-5. How about do you want to do Anna? I have played this match very little. How do you feel about this character?
I've also played it. I had a limited time playing it, but there were some good known players playing her. I would probably put it as 5.5. Definitely. Akuma is definitely an advantage. It's just that the question of whether the advantage is great or not. Her newest cat stance transitions. Is it cat or CGT? CGM? What's the correct nomenclature for the stance?
Let's say cat. I don't want to...
Yep, perfectly fine. Her cat stance transitions pose a problem for characters who don't have a 12-frame mid in certain situations because of how it works, but not for Akuma. He simply gets to SRK through it, very clean, no issue, and even gets to launch it with certain options as well if he wants to.
Yeah.
That's regarding her while sending 3 transitions and down 4. No, specifically down 4. While sending 3, it's a different kind of mind game, but still not that big of an issue.
Her down back 4, is still launch punishable in this game, so that's also really nice. I think is it -15 in this game?
Are you talking about Wine Opener? And that move name I know for sure. The low attack.
Yeah, that one that's basically Nina's, but not.
It's exactly -15, and yes. The situation of after this move on hit is quite good. Anna?
Yeah, it's hella good.
But still, you get to launch it on block. Not too many mids to be scared about versus Nina. You can go through her QCF2 cancel as well, forcing her to use the extension that's 14, etc. Many of the things that just don't work in her favor at all.
Dinosaur saying 4-4-3-4-3 is the big thing that the DP takes away from Anna.
Oh my god, you're so right. That's so true. He gets to launch FF3 alone, obviously, and if she does 3 hits, DP just cancels it out outright. And some of the transitions, as I said, to CGM that she got new, again, she got added to her. He gets to go through them as well, very, very cleanly.
Yeah, I'll take your word on this matchup, actually. This is one I haven't played almost at all, so we'll leave her there. How
Dinosaur, by the
about
way, is sending a player all the way from Great Britain.
yeah? I remember watching dinosaur matches in a basement after watching Tekken Crash, and like, oh, when was this? 2010 or something?
Oh yeah, I would definitely also like to ask Dinosaur's opinion on the Akuma Ryan matchup. Any thoughts? Uh, Now that we have asked this question, let's go to something else. How about Paul? That
Paul.
one's yikes. Don't
And
like that at all.
yeah, I agree with that. Paul is pretty fucked up. It's not as fucked up as some other matchups, but I don't think it's very good. Um, he has so consistent punishers. Um, you don't really get to deal. I mean, this is sort of minor in a lot of ways. Oh, hey, that's sick. Big shout out from Dinosaur. Uh, like Death Fist punishes, I don't think are super important generally. You don't really see Death Fist too much, but I think it does matter. And as I said, his punishers are really good. His counter tools are pretty decent. I think people underestimate his standing 4.
Oh, and it also is a quite good anti-air.
Yeah. I think it's actually one of the places where male standing 4s are better is in these long range, or well, like not point blank anti-airs where it doesn't really matter if you're a bit slower. So his standing 4 is pretty beefy, like the hitbox.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Especially going upwards, like.
I would definitely like to place this matchup in the second to worst category, somewhere, perhaps, before Devilgen, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
It does grow. You are supposed to be low pairing this on reaction, but unfortunately, everyone is capable of doing this. But it does reach as a punish. What else is to be said about that match? Yes, you punish Death Fist with 3. It's consistent. It's like a certain situation. It's very very little damage.
I think this is one of those matchups that got a little bit better in Season 2. Just because back 1-2 used to be such a fucked up Punisher. Like,
Sure.
top 5 strings in the game or something like that. But it didn't really change at all, like apart from that. So, kind of is what it is.
That is what it is. Let's go to another losing match in my Law.
Law. Yes. I think this matchup, I can see it being a losing matchup, but to me, it's also a matchup that I'm not too. I don't feel too bad about playing it. Like, to me, the worst part about playing Law is that he has really good anti-airs. But if you play Law that isn't super familiar with Akuma, the fact that he's a 4-frame Demon Flip 3 spin is really nice, and that you get to option select punish 3+4 so easily is also like super valuable in tournament, but maybe not as valuable in a purely like theoretical people playing the matchup well sort of way.
That is true. However, there are certain, like many certain tools Law has that still put the matchup in his favor, in my opinion. Downback 3 alone is outstanding. I mean, yeah, you do get to launch it on block since it's -12, but that move is just so good on hit. Makes the situation quite shitty for you. Other moves you don't really get to move around a lot. Around of like forward 1+2. That's quite good.
I think Damage 3 is like it's one of those moves that at least up here when we talk about it, it's like Damage 3 is a move that would never show up now. Like it's only the only reason Damage 3 is as good as it is because it's a legacy move. It's like would never show up on a new character. You wouldn't see fucking random, I don't know, guy from Siberia have Damage 3.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There is definitely lots of truth to that. Yeah, as Aki says, Beck 3 is great versus Demon Flip. His anti-air tools are just they're might as well be better than Jin's because they're consistent.
Yeah.
Jin's not exactly consistent, but at least they work in many situations and are fast. And Law has lots of them. They're also fast and they are consistent. His punishment is also quite nice for many things.
I think it's worth note as
And
well that he has.
also-
Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead.
His armor move when your back is to the yikes. Not easy to launch that at all. And standing too.
Yeah, I think something that really irks me with this matchup regarding his anti-airs and like his keep away, like keep out and neutral play is that so many of the good moves have follow-ups as well. So it's really sketchy to always, like, you don't always get to feel like you get to go in. Like, you sort of always have to be on guard and dash block. Because either he ends up in, like, back turn, for example, or like, oh, well, now he can end up here and do weird shit. Or he has follow-ups where he can DSS or, you know, stuff like that. So I think that's... like in comparison to a character like Jin, for an example, who has amazing anti-air tools and like really good keep out moves, but if you block them or if they whiff, you know that there isn't gonna, like, it's not like magically there's a third, like 2 extra kicks after forward 4. So you have to like respect it more, I think, versus Law than with Jin.
Yeah, that's true. I also wanted to say that with Law, you don't really get to use your counter hit tools too often, like the down jabs, because his low crush attacks are nice. Well, that's how I feel about it anyway. I'm not sure if that's just all around true. But he does lose, like, in neutral. In neutral, if you do deep FF4 a lot, there isn't much he can do about it. Because, like, well, unless he, of course, consistently sidewalks it, then yes, it's a problem. But otherwise, there isn't, like, anything big you can do. So there is, like, a way for you to keep him at bay, but you would still want to get in on him and force the down 3 thing, considering there is a 4-frame window to launch him.
Well, where do you think he goes?
I definitely feel like it's still a 4.5.
Do you think feel like he's in the bottom? Close to 6.4 or 4.6?
Oh, it's close to 5.5, but it's there.
I'll put him in the middle there. I could see him being worse than Elisa for sure.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Perhaps even better than Lee. I kind of misheard what you asked, but yeah, this is okay. This position is fine.
Let's do Julia.
Now that one I don't have experience with as far as playing Akuma versus her.
I played it a bit, but I mostly played it like pretty early, so I feel like some of it might change, but Julia is one of those characters that can actually, especially with the safe hop kick, because that's like, turns out that's actually doable.
Definitely. Yeah.
She can really play Bulldog versus Akuma, which basically no character can. Maybe Geese can. Geese and Julia, I'd say, are the characters that kind of engage with Akuma in his own game up close, which is pretty fucked up. 441 is so good. Like, it's so good versus Akuma. It's insane. You
Oh,
cannot
now I
move.
remember. Sorry, what now? Remember what I say about that's his down forward two is homing versus Akuma. Literally, not nothing. You can never step that, so that's also a good move. I
Oh,
forgot to mention this. Law, yeah,
oh yeah,
down forward two. And in Julia's case, FF1.
yeah. As Dinosaur here says that he has no answer. He doesn't really have an answer for it. He can't move at all. Like a lot of characters realistically can't move that much versus 4-1 in a lot of situations, but Akuma can't really move ever versus 4-1.
Oh yeah.
Dealing with the follow-ups, he doesn't really have a sick OS for that as well, since instant 4-4-1-4 can fuck up dick jabs, which isn't great. And she can obviously just low parry. It's not like she's in a horrible situation to Twitch low parry. And the move high crushes at times. I don't know if it's a high crush or if it's just like an evasion, but it happens relatively often.
Yeah, definitely evasion.
Akisera here says that you get hit out of the air a lot, and that's true. You get hit out of the air a lot with 4-4-1. You get hit out of the air with hop kick, and this is something.
Yeah. Hop kick is extremely good in that on any type of load, she will get a full.
Yeah. Full combo conversion, and it's not that hard, especially considering hers is 2 hits. It's kind of similar to Leo's. Leo's hop kick and Leo's down for 2 also give full conversion on air hits. I think it's pretty harsh matchup.
Yeah, it definitely sounds harsh. What even is Akuma? What even is there for Akuma that could go his way? Punishment on certain things, but then again, why would Julia do unsafe thing?
Yeah.
The only unsafe thing that she basically has to do is.
I didn't hear
the
that
full
last
crouch
part.
string.
I think you clipped out. What was the last thing you said?
I simply said that war drums and bow and arrow are the two things that you could get lots of mileage of punishing, but then she has decent fast lows that are safe too.
Yeah.
I mean, safe-ish.
Yeah, safer. Like
right, safer.
It's also one of those matchups where I think focus attack is pretty useless. Doesn't really do much. Julia doesn't really have to do while running 1 versus Akuma, and even then, it doesn't have a lot of recovery. So in a lot of situations, she can duck anyway, and then you eat like 1 billion damage. Oh, and also her Corsair for 2 is so good versus Akuma. Like if you end up thinking you can jab, because you don't want to dick jab because of the safe hop kick. So you feel you can jab because I can eat a 4-4-1 if I end up whiffing it because he goes under. But Corsair for 2, like instant high crush launcher on normal hit.
Well, that just sounds like there isn't much I can do, period. So I originally wanted to suggest to leave her out of this, but since this is probably a video people will watch like a year from now, if Tekken 7 is still around and we're not getting Tekken 8 or anything, but let's hope for the best. Let's just put her in 4-6, because as you and Dennis are describing, there isn't much. Oh, and Akisera as well.
I think I'd put her either before or after Devil Gen, but I think we'll do before.
I was thinking before Paul, but yeah, now that I'm listening to all this reasoning as to why she's good, might as well leave her there, yeah. All right, how about we do some better matchups for a change? How about Josie?
Go ahead.
Do you feel like feel like this is a winning matchup at all?
I think it's probably a winning matchup. It's kind of weird to me because Akuma is really good at dealing with a lot of shit that Josie players want to do. And a lot of Josie players will do even if they shouldn't, which is really good. He's really good at shutting down stance stuff, especially on block. Like SWS is like, you can just fuck that shit up.
Yeah, he's the only character in the game who gets to fuck it up consistently without a use of meter, and that's amazing. Her transitions to crouch dash out of things like DF3 forward and DF3 2 forward rather, and 3-2 forward also gets shut down by SRK2.
Yeah.
Unless she of course does the mid, in which case you can launch the mid meter. Down 4 you get to launch with not launch but punish at least with swirl kicks.
Yeah.
Down jab is iffy. It's not easy to get into the range where it won't whiff.
If you really go to, you do the rage art button 1 2 if you're in rage.
Oh yeah, that's sick. People forgetting this exists.
The next level strats.
Yeah. Her anti-airs though are amazing.
Yeah.
Hop kick DF2, magic for something else was there. 3 maybe, I'm not. Forward 2, upside down really. Forward 3+4, the big knee counter hit also it works as an anti-air nicely enough. So you don't get to jump on her. However, you get to shut down lots of bullshit, and her backdash isn't that good to be down 3, so you just can simply get in there and force the mix-up if you'd like, or play a bit passive if you feel like the Josie player wants to insist on stance and stuff, so you get to shut down this. Perhaps it's not 6-4, since still her down forward 2 is quite good. Her magic 4 is great.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a better matchup, and I would definitely put it somewhere around Brian and Anna.
Yeah. Dinosaur says Akuma takes away so much from Josie. The down forward 4 punish, down 4 being -10, and yeah, CD2 and 3 are hurt really badly on block. I agree with all of that. So yeah, I do agree though with you, Toka, that probably isn't 6-4. I think it might be. It's probably better than Brian though, but she still has a lot of solid tools, and she does hurt you a lot on block. So I would probably put her somewhere around there.
Yeah, that sounds about fine for me. Wow, Dinosaur, what an interesting thought. I never thought of it this way. What he says is, I think Bruce and Josie have both always struggled a bit with down forward 1 type pressure, so Akuma can just do that instead of jumping. That is so true. Obviously, neither one of them have access to a 13 frame mid that shit on block.
Yeah.
And of course, they do have great counter hit tools. Not even great. She does have access to a counter hit tool in Magic 4 and a hike rush in her DF2 launch, as well as down back 2. But still, it's absolutely true that you can simply this type of pressure, the more generic one with jumping, and mix in some side steps, down 3s, and down jabs to shut her down. This is not a tier list, Vishal Panwar. This is a matchup list for one character in specific, for Akuma. This isn't actually mentioned in the title of the podcast, which is a big mistake, rubbish there. But yes,
I didn't want to spoil it. What if someone went up on my stream before we started?
This entire stream is a discussion on how does Akuma deal with various characters.
Yeah.
The lower the character is on the list, the worse it is to fight for Akuma. And Ling is by far the character he struggles the most against. That's what this list is all about.
Yeah. Let's do... Oh, I wish we had Leslie here for this. Let's do Liza.
I think leaving her at 5-5 is fine. Honestly, I personally feel like this there is an advantage, but the advantage is so slight that putting her on the leftmost side of 5-5 is enough.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. So maybe that's like the easiest one ever.
Although, to be fair though, some of the Elisa players would probably think that this is like Akuma gets to win there more so than just a 5-5 matchup.
I think
But
one of the
her,
things that
yeah,
really help Eliza versus Akuma that a lot of characters don't have is that jump back EX type kick is so good versus Akuma. It's so good.
absolutely.
It's like crazy good versus Akuma. It's like a move made for versing Akuma.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's up there with Devilgens and Lily Crush things.
Yeah,
Very, very good. Not to mention, Elisa's sidestep is extremely evasive.
yeah.
It's one of the fastest evading sidestep in the game, and that way she gets to step around DF1 or down threes quite well.
I
But
could probably sway to putting it at a 5-5, 4-5 for Akuma, just because you will probably end up winning most damage, like trades. Like you win the race for the bar, the life bar, and you get more out of your bars than her.
and there isn't her down three clean hit thing in the open is very extremely risky for her, while yours is just whatever.
Yeah, even at the
If
wall, I
she,
mean, it is punishable for her, which it isn't for Akuma. So
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Akuma launch no
yeah,
meter every single time. Minus
exactly.
14, no pushback. Very good.
Yeah, and also Akuma's OS punish for back one
Back
two
1-2.
for is nice. So I think we can put her here. Um,
Hishe has a safe counter hit launcher mid one in 1-2, but that thing on block is prime mix up city
yeah.
for Akuma.
How do you feel about Miguel?
Ooh, that one I very much dislike. Definitely a very difficult matchup to play in season 2. There is an argument to be made that this is 4-6, but might as well. I would probably put it at the rightmost side of 4.5.
Yeah, I think I would agree. His backdash is so good versus Akuma. People in general tend to underestimate backdash versus Akuma. It doesn't only get you out of clean hit range and stuff like that, but backdashing can be a really good way to whiff punish jumps.
Mm-hmm.
And he has such a great backdash. And the addition of Magic 4 being a counter hit launcher is so good as well because that move is so multi-purpose in this matchup.
Yeah, its hitbox got extended forwards, and that just makes it an entire out of so many options and ranges. It might even be 4-6 to be honest. Putting it there for now. Actually, I feel like it's worse than Lily.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
would probably agree with that actually. I think the upsides to the matchup is basically only that he's tall. So he has like in certain situations he has to do weird stuff to anti-air demon flips. But other than that, like I don't know, very little stuff stands out to me as like something you get to really punish the Miguel for doing. Also, this we didn't really talk about this other than with Heihachi, but a lot of people don't understand how strong big launchers, big mid launchers with a lot of pushbacks is, because you really can't do much about them in a lot of situations as Akuma. Like Savage Sanford 2 is really good versus Akuma.
You do get a punish for it in 4-3. That's it.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes it even whiffs, which is insane. But yeah, at least you get something. But that's not enough reward for such a good move, considering Akuma's sidestep is, worse than average, and he cannot deal with Savage stance. Savage low, Savage safe knee. It's very, very hard for Akuma to move around these moves, and SRKing is obviously not good because Savage has blocking. So you kind of are stuck in expecting one thing and getting hit by the other. And in neutral, his moves are just quite a bit better than yours. Magic 4 reaches a lot. I also don't like his full crouch low. I mean, don't like getting hit by it. So,
Yeah, I think we can leave him there.
any positive matchups for a change? How about Gigas?
4 for 2, 1 not practical on Savage Down for 2. It's definitely not practical on Savage Down for 2. I think there are situations where it can hit, but not.
Oh yeah, the pushback.
Pushback is crazy.
Minus 17 is up practical punish with 2-1. It's the extreme range at which it lives you that makes it very hard to punish it.
Yeah, so Gigas probably a winning matchup for Akuma. It's one of those things where Gigas is Gigas. Like his jab control is obviously very good. Jab down for the 1. But conversely, like Akuma isn't really expected to move too much. So the fact that like Gigas can control the horizontal space so well with so few moves is less impactful.
Aki says it's 6'5", basically suggesting we put him near Bears, but I feel like Bears is worse.
I think
than
Bears
Gigas.
is worse.
So I would probably be fine with putting him somewhere around Noctis, Lars, and Lei. There are obviously things he does well, as you mentioned. Jabs are quite nice. He has some other anti-air tools like forward 2 or F1. I'm not sure which one move it is, but it's some far-reaching punch, which also works well. His forward 2 is a nice move in neutral.
Yeah.
Just like that. Teleport is alright against his RD, that is true. Cancel it and rush run up to you with down 2. Down 2, by the way, nice tool as a whiff punish, but you get to launch it. No meter, that's nice. His throws have such an insane vertical hit, they actually work consistently as an anti-air, but you don't get to do this too much, and you don't get too much reward out of it, so Gigas players end up still using jabs for anti-airs instead. And his big minus 14 was.
You clipped out there.
All right. Gigas is down back 2, the big low. It's minus 14, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, even if it was 12, you still get to launch it easily, but still. That move, you kind of just twitch duck for it, expect it, launch him for it, and then he becomes very sad. Is something better than Marduk with him? Yeah, Marduk is just an all-around better character.
Yeah, I think so as well. So I'm not sure what... I mean, there is stuff with Gigas that is better than with Marduk. But it isn't enough. Like parry, or well, like his power crush is situationally decent, I think. Even versus Akuma. And Marduk obviously doesn't have that, but it's not very big.
Crazy is correct. I mean, it's not incorrect. It would be only fair to delete Gigas from the game as soon as Marduk came down, but
then we wouldn't get those sick Jojin Boy sets from this weekend.
Indeed, as well as Maknuz's sets from last year. From last year's, was it Master Cup or something? Some other tournament like Tokyo Masters, where he just went basically all the way to up to top 16 versus major characters, just spamming his power crush move. Shitting on people left and right. That was fun to watch.
Let's do Marduk then.
I don't know about Marduk. I'm not the correct person to ask about the matchup because I just hate his face-sitting stance, and this thing alone makes me despise the matchup so badly that I cannot even objectively talk about it. I'm talking, of course, about the tackle. I'm not sure how it's called at all. It's a three-way freeway guess, and good people are saying that it's very, very doable to react to his punches. That's possible for me and all. And
You can feint them as well, so
yeah, and there is a feint for 1 or 2, and the break for the stance is very, very small.
yeah. I think theoretically Akuma is one of the better characters at dealing with it, just because he can technically jump on reaction. Decent certain spacings.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I don't know how practical that is yet. I haven't played the matchup too much. But it is one of the first things I checked out, because I also hate tackle. I don't know. I think it's kind of similar to playing versus Gigas, just he's not as bad.
That's true.
He still suffers from some of the stuff that bigs do. He gets, obviously, has to deal with instant team flip throw. He gets hit by bigger wall combos, and Marduk specifically is also one of the characters that you don't have to. If you're on axis, you do not have to step for Dim Flip 4 tech catch. It always hits both directions on tech roll.
Nice.
And he cannot stand up as well. If he stands up normally, then he gets hit as a cross up. So Dim Flip 4, he has to take it on the ground as a wall ender, which I think is pretty big. If he's on
sounds
axis.
about right. Denizar suggests that instead of trying to guess it freeway, we simply commit to 1 or 2 and then mesh 1+2 versus a slower 1+2 tackle break. And the 1+2 option is probably the one that's the most reactable, if any of them were. But I feel like it's definitely doable to react to this one. This is a solid strategy. I never really thought about it that way. Yeah. Since versus this type of tackle, your character is always on the move. So if you mash 1 and then switch to 2, your character will go to the other side and catch the other limb. So committing to 1 and then switching to the slower one sounds very doable.
And he also says that being able to DP after the rage trap on block to beat at the ground hit guess is okay as well. I think that's very much just an okay thing, because he can't do heavy Dragon Punch. He has to do EX. And my Swedish came out there. It's like meter is so important in his game. Like, meter is so good. It's what makes the character work. Not having meter it's like going into a battle without armor, basically. Like, it's very, very important. So EXDP, does heavy DP work? I don't think it does, because I don't think teleport works. And teleport is I5 inval, while SRK2 is I8. I might be wrong in this, but I don't think it works. At least not versus every option. But yeah. In my world view where I am right, you have to use EXTP. I'm going to assume that is correct until it's probably proven to not be correct. And I probably wouldn't want to do that a lot.
Going back to Marduk in general, his jab strings are quite good. His anti-airs, however, are not as good. I don't really remember what kind of move could he use to anti-air. Robbie mentioned earlier was that one of the more important range 2 moves of Marduk is -14, but that's not an important move, by the way. It's he's probably talking about the -14 counter hit launcher in 4-4-4-1 is the input, or 4-4-4-2. Either way, people just don't do it unless they want to meme on deal 80% damage on a lucky counter hit. Marduk's lows are nice, and he gets to chip out at Akuma quite decently that way. I feel like it's an even matchup, but that's
Yeah.
probably a lack of experience for both of us.
I would probably also put it as even, with like a lot of room to be swayed in either way by people who played the matchup a lot more. But like my gut reaction is like he's around Shaheen. He's like,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
this
All right,
is.
any more losing matchups, or is everything else?
Do you think he wins versus Geese? That's a
No,
loaded question because I definitely do not think he wins versus Geese.
definitely not. I was looking at Asuka actually, but I'm not sure about Asuka either.
Do you want to do Geese? We can do Geese last. Save the 2D boy for the end.
That sounds good.
Well, let's do Asuka.
I don't know about Asuka, honestly. You get to punish Sean back 3, and that's good. In DF4, that's great, and that's one of the things you have to look at first because it's such a good panic move.
Yeah.
Her anti-airs are fine. They're not perfect, but they're there. Her high armor move also works as an anti-air, interestingly enough. Her low attacks are nice versus as they are versus most of the cast, but some of them Akuma gets to punish heavily. Others can just punish with Wasting 4, which is still good enough. Her strings, I'm not sure if there are any standout strings through which Akuma gets to DP through, so that's not really a concern. Sidestep 2 is a big move for Asuka layers, and on block you get to force a mix-up. That's nice.
That is true. I'd probably be okay with putting this as 5-5 as well.
I don't know. Perhaps it is better than 5-5, but I cannot really put my finger on it, unfortunately, just because of how there are certain ranges where back 3 ends up being safe because it's minus 18 in that regard.
I mean, she has better punish than she used to, which is nice versus Akuma. 2-3, I think, works always versus Fireball.
Yes, it's either always or very, very often.
There was something. Oh yeah, she also has. She's like one of the few characters who has Oki setups, like tech setups, where you can't do EXTP.
Oh yeah,
because of media unblockables.
That used to be the case with Lei until it got nerfed. So now it's only Asuka and Yoshimitsu.
Yeah, and hers is pretty good actually.
It's definitely pretty good. I agree. Her wall pressure in general, okay, but you can easily teleport out of it. I mean, not easily, but you get to teleport fine. However, her down back 3 is just such a good move in neutral that I feel like she just gets to poke you out of stuff and stay at range enough so that this isn't a winning matchup. Although I'm not sure. Perhaps it might be. But putting it at 5-5 is fine.
I think we can put her at the end of 5-5.
Bob, yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. You wanna pick a character? We're kind of running out.
Just to go through these characters really quick and see if you agree with me. I feel like Yoshimitsu is losing matchup. Katarina is somewhere in the middle. Geese is definitely losing matchup. Claudio in season 2 is fine and fair and somewhere in the middle.
Let's start with Claudio, just because he's a 5-5. I think we agree on that.
Yeah, I feel like he used to be somewhere closer to 6-4 in season 1. But that's just how I feel about it. The addition of the new low-high string, or rather not the new one, it's now in C, gets him access to some pokes, gets him access to a low poke, which doesn't really allow you to just sit back and chill and block the big down back 3 low on reaction.
Yeah.
As well as sidestep.
I think like the the changes to 4-3, and the changes to back 4. What is it? Back 4-2 or back 4-1?
It's both now.
Oh yeah, it's both now. Yeah, kind of help Akuma a bit. Really
Well,
nice to.
I mean, probably do, but I feel like the old back to 4-2 was so good, but yet he has now 2 mentions to it at this point. But yeah, it's basically a mix-up punish. Whereas
but Akuma didn't
before,
really
it
get to
used to
do
be
much.
always safe,
Yeah.
and it was outside of clean hit.
Yeah, so I think it's better. I don't think it matters much, but I think it's a little bit better.
Mhm.
Just because Akuma likes the big swings, like in the matchup.
Is there anything else to be added to about Claudio? I mean, sidestep, was it 3? I guess sidestep 3. Or 4. Either way, the low. That's a nice move,
Yeah.
definitely. But if you can block it kind of consistently, it gets very, very good for
Yeah.
you. And it requires him to then use some mids as a mix tool.
And his
Because
mids
4-3 no
aren't
longer
super good.
being safe is bad for him.
Yeah, and I think as well, sidestep 3 being a combination of a sidestep move and a standing low also makes it very susceptible to 1-1.
It makes it susceptible to 1-1. It makes it also susceptible to a jump in Tatsu, as well as just normal jump in moves of time.
Dinosaur checked out the rage drive situation. Apparently, you can do SRK2. So the more you know.
Hey, that's amazing. That's really good to know. Good news.
But he can obviously block it, as he says. But really good to know. Let's do Cat.
Not sure. Yeah, sure. We'll do Katarina, but for Claudio, I'm not sure where to put him.
I
feel like
put him in the middle.
Yeah, it's
I
fine
think
for
that's
him to
fine.
be in the middle. That's true.
How do you feel about Cat?
Katarina is interesting in season 2, in that now that in Akuma is basically the only character in the game who gets an option select punish versus 4 now. Yeah. Literally the only one, because Eliza is the closest one, but she still gets fucked up by the jumping option out of Harrier, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So that's good, and that forces Katarina to use a single 4 or a double 4, which requires harder combos to follow up with. Akuma gets to launch the big extended low attack in down 3+4, although down 3+4 goes under fireballs extremely well, so you cannot really use fireball versus her because you don't want to get hit by this. Get hit by this, are in for the full crouch mix-up, and she can still do the safe-ish full crouch mix-up in full crouch down 3. It's like a very, very tiny low that's minus 11 or 12 on block or something. It's a nice move to use. So you don't want to throw out fireballs, but you punish her lows quite well still, even though many other characters don't anymore. Isn't her wall combo guaranteed? Or is it still, like, at some certain angle you can side roll out of the up-back guaranteed attack?
I don't think it changed, so it probably is the same. But I think that's...
What was it?
So
what was the mind game? Whatever. How do you avoid the guaranteed flip?
Dude, I never looked into that. So I'm not the person to ask about this. But I feel like it doesn't matter too much since I never see people do it. So I think it's one of those things you see when two people who play each other all the time play a first to 100 or something. Which
it's extremely hard to do either way. So people saying that this is consistent and side rolling out of it is what makes Katarina's wall combo bad. Is just they're just lying to themselves. Either way, this matchup is fine for Akuma, just be fine, considering Katarina kind of has a winning matchup quite a bit. The cast in my season 2 changes and all.
No, you're clipping again.
Sorry, it's my Discord's. What's this called? That thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she's somewhere
Notification.
in 5-5.
Yeah, just what I said was Akuma fighting Katarina is easier than other characters fighting Katarina, since she has quite good matchups versus many other characters. For Akuma, it feels like a 5-5, an honest one. Not sure if he gets an advantage at all, but still.
Yeah, you can stop her from going dumb, I think, basically, which is worth quite a lot. I'll put her in sort of the middle as well. I think there's obvious strengths to her, but obvious weaknesses as well. Let's do Nina first, and then we'll tackle Yoshi and Geese. I would probably think that this matchup is probably 5-5 as well. Maybe slight advantage Akuma.
Nina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5-5. I'm not sure which way is it actually going. It might be slight advantage Nina or Akuma. Akuma has a hard time dealing with sidestep 1 pressure if Nina is really good with this, and hopefully all the Ninas are, because it's such a good tool. Sometimes even SRK is not fast enough to clip through some of her pressure. But then again,
this matchup, speaking of sidestep 1, this matchup is one of those where I think knowing how to do SRK1, SRK2 FADC is really good. Just because of that. Just because you end up in a situation where there's a lot of micro stepping going on, where the slight tracking of SRK2 and the invul is worth quite a lot. And it's such a big swing to go from being in a pressure situation into, like, say you just hit it and do, convert into another jab into SRK2 or something like that. Very, very good. So it's one of those tools that I think really help the matchup.
Yeah, that's smart. That's a smart way of looking into it. Should probably try and apply this to my game. Her armor move is something that Nina players love to use, and it's always -14, but you're not always going to get a full combo out of it. That's why, unfortunately, you have to resort to back 1 fireball, because even down 2 will whiff at certain ranges. Although down 2 is a more consistent punish than jabs, obviously. That's something you have to keep in mind, because her armor move is one of the most spammable ones, as well as accessible out of crouch, meaning she can simply do it whenever you run up for a running tackle setup. She just tech rolls and does the armor move, and she beats you that way. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Stiletto Heel, great new name, now that we know what it's called. This move gets launched every time by Akuma. No biggie. That's nice, considering how good this move is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's sort of like, I'm trying to... Getting jump in 4/2 jump as block punish on wipe the floor is one of the only practical times you can use it as a block punish, which is nice. You also get level 2 focus on wipe the floor.
Wow. And here I am using Wellsting too still.
So both jump ins and level 2 focus work, which is really nice.
That's sick. When you block debugger, you can also get jump 4 or jump 2.
Very seldom, but it do happens. I'm trying to think of other things that. I mean, she has pretty good anti-airs, but her anti-airs it's like with Lee, basically. It's kind of the same. She has good jabs, and Magic Force is also good. I feel like she has less less moves that she just does in the neutral that would clip you out of the air. She kind of has to commit to anti-airs more.
One of the advantages in pressure Nina gets versus other characters in that her homing moves are alright, and her just normal attacks like DF1, 2, and jab strings are like have decent tracking so that they restrict other characters' movement. They do not end up mattering versus Akuma as much because he's not going to step them either way, but his I-10 interrupt options are so good versus this basic pressure that she unfortunately has to step it up and use some other type of pressure situations with lots of blocking mixed in. I do have to mention up forward one though. It's quite a good low crush option, and you will never be able to focus through it since she just recovers in crouch afterwards. So you absolutely have to respect this move. Perhaps jab in the air a lot to discourage her from doing this. DF1s. Her running move now being +1 block is also quite nice. It's also low crush. That's about it. It's still not enough tools for either character to make it a 6-4 either side, though.
I might put her high 5-5 rather than 5-5-4-5, but it's pretty close in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Somewhere around here, maybe slightly better than, slightly worse than Negan.
So again, just to recap, whenever we are going within one tier, left is worse for Akuma, and far right is better for Akuma, right?
No, it's the opposite, right? Being closer means you're closer to moving up, I thought.
Oh yeah, then
so Lily is the easiest 4-6 matchup.
Yes. Oh yeah, I got it. And Lei is the easiest 6-4 matchup. Noctis. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Got it. Definitely have to mention this somewhere whenever you're gonna post this matchup somewhere.
So we got 2 characters left. Let's start with Yoshi, who I think we both agree is... I would probably put this as a 4-6.
Yeah, it's a struggle. Definitely an uphill battle. I feel like it's even harder than Paul to fight. Yoshimitsu has lots of good tools in neutral. His unblockable setups will work on you despite you having access to invincible SRK. His rage drive is insane versus your jabs. You basically are not allowed to jab anymore as soon as he enters rage, and it's kind of minor, but he can put himself in rage if he wants to.
Yeah.
So that's nice. His low attacks in neutral, not sure if I mentioned that or not. Those are quite good, so he can simply poke you out with that. His long range with punishment with either crouch dash 1 or back to 2. Both of these are good.
I used to think that he didn't have really good anti-airs, but I've been seeing a lot of Yoshi players do really sick back ones, like when Akuma's in the air, and I'm starting to come around to believing he's actually pretty good at dealing with anti-air as well.
Makes sense. Back one sounds like it would be a good anti-air, and if it is, then it's perfect. Standing 3 is also nice anti-air. It's okay for what it is, and it works as an option select in certain situations.
Aki in chat, rightfully so, says that it's hard with him being one of the hardest characters to back on Demon Flip. He's actually the hardest character.
The hardest, yeah.
Since he's at times 0 frames, basically impossible to Demon Flip, even at the correct ranges. So
unfortunately, whenever you're playing this matchup and are looking for these down 3 clean hits, you will not be able to get enough reward. The best reward you can get that's consistent would be FADC standing 2, SRK 2, probably. Or just back 1, Demon Flip, slide, maybe. It's unfortunate either way
Yeah, it's
because
sketchy.
using down three Tatsu isn't good because he's obviously a character who has access to an I-15 hop kick. And speaking of which, his avoiding the puddle move is great. And that's also something I forgot to mention about Eddie. My bad. If Eddie didn't have access to his avoiding the puddle, the matchup would have been better. But Eddie's is also quite good. And Yoshimitsu's is a homing move, right?
Yes.
As of Tekken 7. Yeah, that's sick. I don't really have anything else to say, but it definitely is an uphill battle if Yoshimitsu plays
Well, did we
plays
talk about
safe and just
Flash? Flash is
no.
really good, especially versus jump ins. Makes it so
It's
sketchy to do anything.
great versus jump ins on block. It requires you to dash in, and sometimes if you dash in improperly, you'll actually get hit by Flash.
Yeah.
That's stupid. And if you don't dash in, just sidestep or sidewalk or backdash, or just stand still, that allows Yoshimitsu in turn to do things that are ugly. And you putting him in full crouch leaves you susceptible to sword flash.
Yeah.
What's this called? The unblockable low launch. So, for example, using forward 1+2, you have to keep in mind this option and interrupt him or jump over him. It's definitely an interesting matchup to play, but it doesn't feel easy at all.
Yeah.
An uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, it's also worth noting, even though it's a very like minor thing, but you can't like if you're playing versus a Yoshi who won't approach you at all, you can't even make them like commit to anything by annoying them with fireballs and stuff like that, because you can just Indian stance and heal, or just like go under them with sit and stuff like that. Which I think it's one of those things that doesn't really matter, but it's really annoying and can tilt you really hard.
Yeah. It is definitely an issue whenever you're trying to zone them out and sit on a life lead, which is not easy to do versus Yoshimitsu at all, in my opinion, considering he can definitely reach your life lead and surpass it by healing himself,
Yeah.
and he has down forward 4. It's a range 2 low attack that's unseeable. It's a homing move. It's plus and hit. Quite nice for poking. Oh, I forgot to mention 3 slide 4. The
Oh yeah.
jump kick attack floats. It has nice anti properties. It's safe on block. You basically the first few times have to jab afterwards to stop a possible switch to fly attempt, which leaves you susceptible to like while standing launch punishment, etc.
Yeah, he definitely has pretty much all the tools he needs, especially considering they buffed his like general poking tools. He still has like top 3 downward, like 12 frame mids in the game, downward force. Reaches so far, and now downward 1 is good as well, which it didn't really
And
used to be.
down forward 1/4 is a great punish to fireballs.
Yes, so he's got the whole package, I think. Well,
All right, last but definitely not the least,
Mr. Geese. This is one of those matchups that I thought was pretty even when the character came out, and it's sort of slowly been getting worse and worse, I think.
Yeah, I've been having the same exact thoughts. Can Akuma even sidestep back 3?
No, I don't think so. At least not like realistically. I don't think. I think this is a 4-6.
Wow, 4/6. I'm not sure about that. Honestly, I thought it was somewhere between 4/6 and 4.5. But if you were to put this at 4/6, probably before Lily.
Yeah, I
It's
think so.
definitely easier than Miguel. I'm not sure about Lily, but definitely easier than Paul. Absolutely easier than Yoshimitsu.
I think
It's a sucky matchup for sure, but there aren't as many things Geese gets to do compared to Miguel.
Yeah, I think like the Geese stuff is just like he gets to do Geese stuff, which is good, you know. Like back 3-2 is basically a rage drive that you have access to whenever. Um, his counter hit options versus Akuma's highs are very good. Dick jab is really good. Down 4 is really good. He obviously gets to do 2D stuff versus some setups like Key Charge Demon and stuff doesn't work on Geese, which I think matters.
Yeah,
Well,
that makes your rage worse. That makes your rage pre 2017.
yeah, exactly.
A non-issue at all.
And I think a big thing as well, at least to me, is I really dislike his downforward 1-1 being -2. Because Akuma is so like bad at moving, and having to like basically having to commit to doing downforward 3 a bunch is really bad, because that move is really bad. Like it isn't good. It's what is it, -9 on block. It doesn't do any damage. It's like +1 on hit with pushback. And if you don't engage with downforward 3, you either have to do dick jab and risk getting low parried for a 1+2 after you block it down for the 1-1, or you have to deal with his dick jab if you go for a faster, slower mid.
Yeah, and you would think that jumping into him versus a down jab attempt is cool, but not exactly. Geese's anti-airs are great, sending 4 anti-airs very consistently, even though it's slower than a normal Magic 4. It's a homing move nonetheless, so 16 frames, anti-airs very consistently. If not that, he gets a 13 frame, I think, up for 3, which looks stupid and is punishable on hit if you get hit by it standing, but it's still an amazingly fast and consistent anti-air. So jumping into Geese is not a good idea if he knows these 2 moves are so good. I mean, as good as they are. But I still don't think it's 4-6, although the existence of back 3-2 in general is definitely putting a dent in this entire situation.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning as well that a lot of the -14 stuff cannot really be punished super well, and the stuff that could be, I think, became -13 in season 2.
Are you talking about forward 3? I mean, forward 4 specifically?
Yeah, I think 3-3 isn't that -13 now?
People do use that? I don't know.
I see people do it from time to time. It's like the slowest, longest delay ever counter hit launch.
Oh, that's true.
Downforward 1-4, is that -13 now?
Might be.
Though you did use downforward 1-2 versus that anyway, but
True.
And as Akisera in chat says, I think it's worth noting as well that he can sort of, even though it isn't on normal hit mix-ups generally, Geese can match Akuma for damage in a lot of situations.
Yeah, his OK at the wall isn't good, but he does get to match him in certain situations, surpassing him when he does have access to 2 bars at the wall. His orbital is also obviously an extremely good tool, although it having additional whiff frames is really nice in Season 2. I'm glad.
Oh my god, I forget about this move. Why did I... running 1 is so good versus Akuma.
Is it?
Yeah, it high crushes, so you cannot... generally, you cannot try to approach counter hit it with a 1-1, and it recovers really fast on focus stack, so it's basically doesn't work versus focus. Like focus doesn't
There are
work.
obviously situations where they run into very, very late into focus stack, which of course allows that to happen. But yeah, and on block, it's -9 on block still, right?
Yeah, but it does have some pushback.
It does have some pushback, but there are situations where I thought you could at some point.
Maybe if you're point blank. but I don't think it's like matchup warping. But I think it's worth mentioning. Like Akuma cannot move versus that move either, which a lot of characters can.
Oh, absolutely cannot move. And he also has tremendous struggles with moving around the orbital.
Yeah, but I guess I could put him, like, I could be okay with putting him at the furthermost right in 4555.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Of course, there is definitely a huge argument to be made to moving him lower, but I'm thinking this is fine for now.
Should we do like a final look over here and then sort of print this?
My thoughts on this list are as follows. I definitely expected more characters to be in the green zone and less in the red zone, especially definitely way less characters to be in the far red zone. That's how it is, and that's definitely what an in-depth look into the cast suggests.
Do you want to create, do you feel like we need a 7-3 for Bears?
No. Unfortunately, I don't think there is a single person in the world other than Rangchu who's enough experience in the matchup, so we cannot really tell.
Yeah, I think this is fine.
Yeah, has Unja played enough Rangchu to have an opinion on this? I very much doubt that. So, yeah. I don't know. This is fine for now, because perhaps there are, like, tools that Bears could use, like, for example, I don't know, back forward 2. Perhaps that thing's little homing versus Akuma. Who knows?
Yeah, I think this is fine. Be interesting to hear what some other people thought of it, maybe. Though we've obviously gotten feedback from the chat.
Dinosaur asks, what's the reasoning for Ling? We went into this quite in depth, but I'm fairly sure that the best overlook of the matchup is on Rubbish's document that's called Considerations versus Ling. It mentions a lot of things that Ling gets shut down, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But if we want a quick rundown, it's just that SSR OP is extreme versus Akuma. His punishment mix-ups, as Rubbish mentioned, those are quite good and they still work versus Akuma. Her tools in neutral, in my opinion, are quite good. FF3 is insane.
Yeah.
I don't like that move at all. I struggle versus that move tremendously.
Yeah, I think if you had to break it down to like one thing that's really, really harsh, is that more than any other character in the game, she forces Akuma constantly to either do a quick move and get AOP hop kicked, or do a slow move and deal with her counter launchers. There's really no way to get around that. And on top of that, she has a ton of smaller things that all add up.
Does her standing 3 track to any direction?
It does track to one direction. Right. Yeah, I think it's alright.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. If you try to sidestep left to realign with her eventual AOP, you'll just get hit by standing 3. It is unsafe in Season 2, of course, but that's still a possibility. Oh, and her orbital move. Either one of them. I'm not sure what they're called. The front flip and the other one that's not a front flip, both of them are quite good.
Sidestep 4 is really good versus Akuma as well. It doesn't really get to punish it more than any other character. Really good. Like, she can basically play the matchup however she wants to. She has tools for playing keep out, playing like rush down, and going for counter hits.
One insane thing Ling can do, and I've been a victim of this countless amount of times, is she gets to punish bad jump in attempts that are out of range with sidestep 3. She just moves around, sidestepping constantly somewhere far away, and if my Demon Flip 3, for example, is just tiny bit out of range, she just commits to sidestep 3 and I'm gone. And getting hit by sidestep 3, even if it's a whiff punish, a legitimate one, it always is a mental guard crush.
She can
Oh,
also.
bad.
Oh, she's actually one of the characters that can beat EXTP on Wake Up as well, since she can do a meaty sidestep 3.
Oh
You
my
can
god.
you can block it, but you cannot DP.
Is that from the while standing 4 situation? On hit?
No, I don't think you can do it from Western 4. I think she has to tailspin into the wall.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Like, she doesn't hit the wall, but she's like closer. Yeah, I think we're gonna like print this. It's done. I need to go to bed. I got school tomorrow at like 8 a.m. or something stupid like that.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks so much
That was
for watching.
quite a big pleasure to do this with you, Rubbish. And lots of people tuned in. Lots of people shared their thoughts and asked questions. That was also fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Great job, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for your input. Thanks for coming along on this adventure, Toko. And
No problem.
we'll see when we do a stream, podcast episode, whatever, next time. This one was quite long. This is almost 4 hours.
I thought we will be able to be done with 3.5 or 3, but unfortunately, some of the characters required more input than normal.
Yeah, but I think it's better to be a bit thorough than to be
Not thorough
not
enough.
thorough enough. Yeah, I'm gonna call it on that one. Let's do this one. Let's see our big faces instead of our small faces. Yeah, follow everything that was on the screen. Subscribe, whatever, and peace out.
Akuma Mirror is your entire standing 3. Bye bye.